Today is Wednesday, February the 3rd, 2021, and it is 6:30. Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency, and Calexico Financing Authority regular meeting agenda. This meeting is being called to order.
Due to the declaration of emergency, this meeting is being held pursuant to authorization from the governor's executive orders. Some or all of the city council members may participate in this meeting by teleconference as authorized by executive order N-29-20 issued by the governor of California on March 17, 2020. Under further notice, there will be no public access to city council meetings. However, public participation is available in the following ways. A, members of the public are encouraged to watch the meeting via live stream at http://communityspectrum.org/live/ at 6:30 p.m. or via the Calexico City Hall Facebook page at www.facebook.com/City of Calexico CA. B, you may also join the open session portion of the meeting via Zoom from a PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or Android device. Please click this URL to join the webinar. https://zoom.us/j/930842832221 $PWD =AM1H capital U capital E capital N 6 capital M 3 capital J capital I capital M capital H capital Z 3 lowercase c capital V as in Victor lowercase d lowercase w capital Z 2 capital Z K lowercase k capital T capital E 1 capital C lowercase d lowercase z 09. Passcode number 296092 or join by phone. Dial for higher quality. Dial a number based on your current location. US 1669 900 6833 or 1346 248 7799 or 1-253-215-8782 or 1-301-715-8592 or 1-312-626-6799 or 1-929-205-6099. Webinar ID number 93084283221. Passcode number 296092. International numbers available https://zoom.us/u/a E capital J U O P J T capital L8. Members of the public will be able to make public comments in the following ways. 1. Submit public comments via email by 2 p.m. on Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021 to ggarcia@calexico.ca.gov or via fax to 760-768-2103. These comments will be read out loud during the meeting. 2. Make public comments live via Zoom by submitting the request via Zoom chat. Persons should submit name and section of the agenda they wish to speak on such as public comments or state the agenda item number.
Roll call.
Mayor Rosie Arrola Fernandez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Javier Moreno,
Here.
Councilmember
Here.
Councilmember Gloria Romo. Here. Councilmember Camilo Garcia.
Here.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mission statement. Councilman Garcia.
Pledge to provide effective and efficient services in a courteous and respectful manner to improve the quality of life for all in our unique order community. Viva Calexico.
Innovation by Pastor Frank Sasueta, Christ Community Church. Welcome, Frank.
Mayor, City Council members, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity of opening up in prayer here tonight. As a pastor here in the city of Calexico, I am truly blessed to know that the leadership here acknowledges the importance of prayer. Father in heaven, first of all, Lord, your word does declare, God, that we should pray for all men everywhere. And God, that would include every citizen in this city here tonight, God, and its leadership, Lord. God, your word also declares that all authority has been placed by you. So God, we acknowledge that here tonight, God, and we acknowledge the importance, the privilege, and the blessing that it is to approach your throne of grace. So God, my prayer for this city would be, Lord God, that it would be governed by leadership, God, that acknowledges you. God, we pray tonight, God, for wisdom, God, from heaven. And God, that there would be a blessed city here in this town, God, that would know, Lord God, that its leadership acknowledges you. I pray, God, again, that you would bless this meeting tonight, Lord. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Closed session item, we didn't have any closed sessions. So we're moving on to approval of the agenda. Do I have?
Madam Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
at this moment, if I can request you and the council to please move item 12 to the meeting of February 17th, please. Item 12.
I'll make a motion to, do you want that for the next meeting, city council meeting on 17th?
That is correct, Mayor Pro Tem, yes.
Thank you. So I'll move.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I have some discussion on the motion.
Discussion.
I have discussion on the motion, some debate on the motion.
I'm sorry, but I can't hear you, Mr. Ureña.
I have some debate on the motion. Tengo debate en la moción.
I still didn't hear what you said.
I have... Yeah, comments on the motion.
Okay.
Yes, okay, sounds good. So, this is not a scolding, just a question about this agenda. In general, to city manager, to everyone. The promise I made at inauguration stands still, that I'm empathetic and wanting to work at the pace that our staffing can handle. I also made a promise to lighten workloads on our staff through more implementation of technology so we can move through items a little bit more quickly. One thing I noticed on this agenda is that the discussion on transitional housing that myself and Mr. Moreno at the tail end of the last meeting is not put on the agenda. I was seeking some clarity as to why that is, because it's an urgent matter, as we have seen with the humanitarian protest on First and Andrade. There's an urgent need for transitional housing that is to the benefit of everyone: safety, business, rehabilitation, cleanliness. I'm okay with it not being on this agenda, but I expect a plan to be voted on by next meeting. And for that to happen, we will have to have a special meeting to avoid Brown Act violations. Unfortunately, I have already talked to Ms. Romo about the details of transitional housing. And to include everybody in the planning of this item, I suggest we have it in open session. I came into an agreement in open session with Mr. Moreno last meeting for putting that item on the agenda. And so I really think that to move forward now, the best way to do this is not to have it an item, because this will be at least an hours-long conversation to get this whole plan together and put it together before the next meeting. Having it in a special meeting will allow the public to participate, as well as key community stakeholders, nonprofits, and other government agencies that are going to be contributing to this project. We won't start from blank. I already have a model in mind, but I want us to fill the details as a team. So my question to the council, and I will yield the floor, is this council in favor of calling a special meeting for next week on transitional housing?
Madam Mayor, if I could. You know what, on this item, we're just talking about
Yeah.
moving item number 12 to the next meeting.
meeting.
We're not talking about, I understand what you're trying to bring to the agenda and maybe a special meeting, but that might be probably better off when we talk about new items. So just to, I don't think, Mr. Ureña, with all due respect, I don't think what you're talking about pertains to item number 12. So just, I'm not clear on that. Just to move on, we can just move on, approving item number 12. It doesn't have nothing to do with housing. It just has to do with moving that item to another meeting. And maybe you can discuss later on, your proposal and future item, agenda items.
Madam Mayor, may I have the floor? May I have the floor to respond to the comment?
Well, I guess Mr. Garcia already said what he wanted to say. We need to move on, since it was already said.
Madam Mayor,
It was already moved
point of
on.
order, Madam Mayor, point of order.
Excuse me?
Point of order. The council, point of order, Madam Mayor,
was
point of
already
order.
said.
Madam
No,
Mayor,
no,
point
no,
of
no.
order.
Point
Do
of
you know what that means?
Okay,
Let's try to create a way.
okay, we need to move on.
No, we don't.
Let's,
There's a point of order on the floor, ma'am.
point of order, the mayor, under the code, rules on the point of order, but let's try to figure out a way. I don't want to get stuck in all the technical. Let's try to find a way that we can kind of know what we're discussing.
Thank you.
Have everybody have their comments on the point, and not get tripped out on all the technical,
details.
real legal terms. I think the idea is here, from my perspective, is that whatever is being discussed, it's a proper item we discussed. Everybody is able to comment, and then as a whole, everybody knows what's being discussed or not, and then be able to move forward. So let's not try to get hung up on the technicalities, because I think we're gonna be here. I think the idea here is to try to understand what's being discussed. I was hearing he was raising the issue of potentially having a special meeting on transitional housing. Councilman said maybe let's have that discussion at the point of future agenda items, because right now we're talking about the agenda, so that's kind of been what was discussed right now.
Can we move on?
If we're ready to move on, and we can.
There's a point of order on the floor.
The mayor can roll on the point of order.
Okay, now, Mr.
I
Ureña.
need to express the point of order first, if I may. There's a point of order on the floor, now I get to express it, and then you get to respond. That's how this works. Those are the rules. Okay? Does that make sense?
I can't even hear what you're saying, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll speak a little bit more slowly and more clearly.
Okay.
There's a point of order on the floor. I have to express what that point of order is, and then you get to make a ruling on the point of order. Correct? It's my understanding to close the debate on a motion, there has to be either nobody else in line to speak on the motion, or a 2/3 vote of the council to close debate and to move into a vote. My point of order is that the debate is not closed, and I would like to respond to Mr. Garcia very briefly. It's your
Okay.
ruling.
You can
May I?
respond.
Excellent. Just to be very clear. So, Mr. Garcia brings up a very good point. This is not about item number 12, but let's be clear about the motion on the floor. The motion on the floor is to approve the agenda with the moving of item 12. I'm not talking about item 12, but I am talking about the approval of the agenda itself. So my comments are very much on topic. And with that, I have no further comments, and you can move on to what you're trying to say. Go ahead.
I'd like to say something. Okay, the motion was made to move the item. That's all on that
No,
subject.
it was
Why
to
are we talking
approve.
about other subject? That was, we should move that, we should vote on that order first, and then if he wants to add some other things, let's vote on that.
That's just not what the rules
That's my
say.
whole point. The motion was made, we're gonna move on it, and he jumped in. Let's get this thing done. If he wants to do it, then we'll vote on that one too. But let's get this thing out of the way. Mr. Figueroa wants to move it, we should honor his request, and then move on to his other thing. Get that out of the way.
Okay, back to the agenda.
That's fair.
We're going to be moving
Madam
item
Mayor,
12.
you didn't respond to the point of order.
Excuse me?
You didn't respond to the point of order. You
Mr.
can proceed.
Urania.
You can proceed. Proceed.
Okay,
Proceed
so-
with the vote.
So I move to Mr. Figueroa's request to move item number 12 to next week's meeting. That was a simple request.
Okay, do I have a second?
And somebody sent it, and we're gonna vote.
There was already a first and a second,
Right.
so.
I understand that.
Okay,
Oh,
move,
We're gonna vote now.
vote. Okay,
Yes.
aye.
Aye?
Aye.
aye.
Okay, now back again. Do I have approval with the move to item 12 to our next meeting, February the 17th? Do you have anything else?
That's it. That was done. So go to the next item.
Okay, now do I have approval of the agenda?
We have approval, I believe.
That was
We
done
just voted
week.
on it, yeah.
Yeah, go on to the next one.
Okay, moving on.
Presentation.
Presentation, proclamation, memorialization, former Calexico Mayor Victor Legaspi. Okay. Whereas the Calexico City Council believes that it is important that we honor and acknowledge those people who contribute to our community simply because they love the city, and
Whereas the passing of Mr. Victor Legaspi on December 2nd, 2020, has brought immense sorrow and loss to the people throughout the community, and Mr. Legaspi was a distinguished Calexico resident whose work with the city of Calexico earned him the respect from family, friends, colleagues, and the community, and
Whereas Mr. Legaspi served in the U.S. Navy and was a veteran of World War II, and whereas Mr. Legaspi worked for the U.S. Post Office for 42 years, promoting to postmaster, as postmaster he enjoyed working side by side with his subordinates, and
Mr. Legaspi served as member and promoter various community-based organizations such as the Kings of Columbus, Calexico Rotary, and Little Lake. He was a devoted Catholic who enjoyed handing on the Eucharistic host to the people at their homes.
Whereas Mr. Legaspi served the city of Calexico as council member and as mayor from 1989 to 1990, he was ethical and enjoyed working with the citizens of Calexico. And whereas the high esteem in which Victor Legaspi was held by his family and friends and community at large, it stands as a testament for others who strive for the best in their personal, professional, and community life.
now therefore the city of Calexico hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the passing of Mr. Victor Legaspi, and by the proclamation memorializing him for his illustrious record of personal, professional, and civic achievement, as well as a lifetime of service to the city of Calexico and the Imperial Valley. In witness, whereas I hereby unto affix my signature and official seal of the city of Calexico on this third day of February 2021. Mr. Legaspi's son would like to say a few words.
Give me the certificate. Give me the certificate. This is yours.
First of all, I would like to thank the Mayor Fernandez, Pro Tem Moreno, Council Members Ureña, Romo, and Garcia for allowing me to come up here and say a few words, and for bestowing a plaque for my father's honor. And I would also like to thank my wife and my children for being here. And by the way, today's Michelle's 10th birthday, so she is here with us. She's right there. My mother couldn't make it because she's not feeling very well. My father, a World War II vet, very proud man who enjoyed serving not only the city as a council member and mayor, but serving in World War II in actual combat. The odd thing about this combat, because he was out there fighting, is that the only time he got hurt was in a bar fight. Never out there. My dad, he has a long history. I remember when I was a child going to my uncle Louis Legaspi's house. Cesar Chavez, I used to run around between Cesar Chavez's legs while he was sitting down. A lot of political people got to meet my father, and he was out there helping the Kennedys. Robert Kennedy even actually wrote a letter in behalf of my dad. But those were fun days. I got to meet activists such as Leonard Nimoy, and I forgot her name. One famous female activist that was always there. My father, all the politicians enjoyed hanging out with Dad. They would hang out at the Louis Legaspi's gasoline station. I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of things were talked about regarding to council sessions at Louis Legaspi's after having maybe a couple of beers and then some carne asada. I enjoyed hanging out with the boys there. He's always proud of his sons. You know, he enjoyed his military life and enjoyed the fact that both his children became servants for the city of Calexico. One as a police officer and one as a fireman. My brother's currently working in the city of Poway. So he was always proud of us. As a councilman, he enjoyed interacting with the people of the city of Calexico. I think that's where I got my ways of doing things in the city of Calexico. He was a people person. I don't know if you guys recall the show Cheers, when somebody would yell out, Norm! When my dad would walk in, they would yell out, Vic! He enjoyed that. I mean, people just loved my father. Good man to hang out with. Later in life, he would participate in city functions such as a walkathon. At 80 years of age, 3 years in a row, he won first place. I wonder why. At 80 years old, I go, Dad, these people behind you. That's why you're winning. And he actually beat me on one of the walkathons. So you just can't go by age, right? He was very athletic. He was always out there walking. He would, at times would get lost because Alzheimer's crept in. And I would get that call from Farmers Insurance. Hey, Dad's here. So I would go pick him up. Other police officers would go pick him up. Everyone knew Dad. Dad was a very humble person, and one of the proudest moments in life was when he pinned the sergeant's badge. When he pinned the badge on me, 31 years ago. A very proud moment, and one that I'll never forget. Towards the end of life, he would always make a comment. Still around, son, I'm still around. But God took him eventually. And I know where exactly he's at. He's up there in the heavens. Hanging out with me when I'm responding to hot calls. I know he's there, taking care of me. He will be missed by the community, and he will be loved by me. And I hope that I will continue to follow his footsteps. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to presentation by the COVID-19 Ad Hoc Committee.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I will speak a little bit more slowly just so that the interpreter can keep up. I would like to begin with asking for a brief moment of silence for the sudden death of the father of a friend that died yesterday due to coronavirus. I ask for a small moment of silence, please. Thank you. As I report today, I'm obligated to remind the council. Can everybody hear me? Is this loud enough? Should I speak louder? Excellent, thank you. As I report today, I'm obligated to remind the council that when we talk about COVID cases and deaths, like any other kind of death, it's not a statistic, it is someone's life. COVID deaths often leave dependents in intense psychological distress without care. 20 or 30-something-year-olds already battered with student debt during the worst economic crisis in American history. Upon the death of their parent or grandparent to coronavirus, a lot of them are suddenly forced with urgency to find ways to pay the mortgage so they don't end up on the streets, along with the rest of the homeless and the rest of the homeless farm workers that we have already neglected across town. That is what happened to my friend. His father died. He doesn't know how to pay the house. He worked in his father's business and his father is no longer there. I pray for him. I said it when I got to council, and Camilo recently reminded us again of the same thing when he commented at the last meeting on the new commercial eviction moratorium, that I'm very proud of this council for boldly passing, and if I'm not mistaken, we might have even beat El Centro to it. What did myself and Camilo come into agreements with, or what is it that we agree with? We need to be better at communicating resources to people. Not watch them trip, then blame them for not knowing. We need accessible, targeted communications so resources are effectively utilized. Time is of the essence in a pandemic and in governance. I have seen too many people in the community in their psychological distress lose their homes or apartments because they didn't know about the federal homeowners forbearance or the statewide eviction protections. It hurts me to watch because it puts them back decades financially in some cases. Some of them end up on the street when we fail to communicate effectively and collaboratively across agencies. That is the job of this committee. Today's report is going to be relatively brief since we have already gone over the basics, including the new tools to track COVID during the last presentation. These are exclusively updates and mappings of the path forward, where we are right now. We've already laid the foundation for a couple of primordial things in the brief period that we have been a committee, particularly on testing and vaccines. Quarantine resources is a topic we've also discussed, but due to the precedence of testing and vaccines, we haven't come up with action items yet, but it is on our radar because it is very important. Access to quarantine spaces stops the spread in our most neglected and prone population. Data shows that low-income people are more likely to live in a highly transmissible multi-family arrangement due to high rents. That is the housing crisis right there. California, statewide, regionally, how it's experienced in desert parts of Southern California, like our own community, with the added challenges of rurality and being at the border. The housing plans that we put on the table, that I try to put on the agenda right now, will help us alleviate coronavirus in all aspects, because oftentimes our housing arrangements are the driving force for unmitigated COVID spread. Testing and vaccines. On testing, we have worked with county authorities to reestablish and expand mobile testing in Calexico. We had our most popular testing site, potentially the most popular site in the county, I have yet to confirm, for this week. We tested 265 people in one day, January 27th. The magic here was exactly as we had recommended. A centric testing site that is accessible to the community and a strong communication strategy. Just to give you some perspective on how successful this January 27th Calexico one-stop location from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. was, I'll refer to the daily cases. I was going to put it up here, but I'll just orally tell you. The last time we tested in Calexico was on December 17th, which was at least twice the amount of daily positive cases than we are facing right now. And that is even half of what we were experiencing a week before that. So the Calexico One-Stop Center, at a time where there was less testing, at a time where there was less coronavirus, beat out the Calexico Theater and San Diego State University testing locations when they were taken at more favorable times for testing. Calexico One Stop blew everyone out of the water as we had predicted. Mind you, these are the results of an experimental communication strategies. These are the results of about half of our communication strategy. We didn't have enough time that week to implement the full suite of traditional media and advertising options like TV and radio that are part of our complete communication strategy. But we continue to count with the school districts in valuable support and communication. At any given moment, they can reach at least 10,000 families in our city with valuable information on how to keep themselves safe, where to test, where to get their vaccines, and on quarantine resources that could keep them off of the streets. Going back to, I'll reiterate those testing results for the week of the 25th, just so we can compare it more concretely to the week of the 17th. The week of the 25th in January, 265 tested at the Calexico One-Stop. 86 2 days after at SDSU IV. 265, if we had done nothing, would have been closer to 86. But there was a communication plan, so we had the best performance that particular day using our committee strategy. Let's compare that performance to the peak week of cases shortly a month prior on the 17th. On that peak week, Calexico only had one testing site, one day at terrible hours from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. During that peak week, the Calexico Theater tested 238 individuals. For comparison, Imperial Avenue in El Centro and 2nd Street in Imperial tested around 350 people on that week where there was a lot of coronavirus. Both cities, El Centro and Imperial, have much smaller populations once floating populations are considered, and comparable populations when the floating ones are not considered. Despite that, El Centro and Imperial tested about 120 more people than Calexico. Come to when the committee strategy was finally implemented, and we actually have the opposite. Calexico, all of a sudden, is leading the way for coronavirus testing in the county. Thank you, committee. The Calexico One-Stop broke the Calexico record for testing hands down during an off-peak week versus peak weeks with other testing efforts. Strategic site planning and communication have brought us that success. In close collaboration with the county and various nonprofits, we were able to pull this off. Camilo, very rightfully so, at a previous meeting had inquired why not use communication. And we took that as a challenge and are delivering on it. We have much more to deliver with vaccines, COVID-related economic development, and other topics. Communication is our gold. We are part of the people. And it will continue to play a big role in all of our municipal services. Because once COVID is over, we'll be very happy to share with our city staff for the functioning of this government those communication strategies that we are developing expertly. We are waiting to see how SDSU will do in 2 days. Again, we had another Calexico One-Stop location for this week. They're coming twice a week now because of committee communications. This data, because they're coming more often, this data has a lot more meaning now that we have testing at equitable levels in Calexico compared to the county, all because of a couple phone calls. The new testing schedule has been released for the next week by the county. It's the same one-stop location from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., hours that are accessible to our majority essential worker population. I'm working with Jeff and Cito at the moment to get the February 12th site to be permanently moved to Willy Moreno to serve our lowest income communities. For the longest times, their services have been ignored, underinvested, but they are at special risk because air pollution is much worse on the west side compared to higher income levels in Calexico. This is relevant because hyperlocal air pollution levels are a determinant of mortality for many diseases, including COVID-19. Vaccination. We have 5 certified vaccine providers with some type of presence in the city of Calexico. Clínicas, ECRMC, Pioneers, Dr. Vo, and Calexico Wellness. Unfortunately, we are at the state's mercy for vaccine allocation, a subject that we've talked about extensively already. We continue our advocacy efforts for the governor directly to notice our countywide situation, with emphasis on border city and farm worker communities that feed this nation and have special needs. At least the wait for those vaccines is giving us some time to organize ourselves across providers and agencies for distribution. We requested at the last meeting that we add 6 seats to the committee to give more healthcare providers a vote on matters that we will be discussing, especially as vaccines come around the corner. Based on what we have seen, we want to avoid a first-come, first-served basis distribution, whether it's first-served in person like ECRMC, or if it's first-come, first-served digitally like it occurred today with the county. People should not, under any circumstance, have to race for a vaccine that is against equity. Avoiding this problem requires having a predetermined census so we can randomize and, of course, add to our census and equitably choose the distribution or the order of the distribution for the vaccines. We are looking to enrich our centralized efforts on vaccination with the city data on senior housing residents and hopefully some Medi-Cal data if we can get access to it from the county. We want there to be a single site for registration that is shared across Calexico providers for ease of use and greater fairness and order. That is the current project that we started yesterday. We will report back when we have more progress. Along with our vaccine census efforts, we want our data to help us inform county efforts when they start deploying vaccine pods, point of distributions around the county. Last section, mappings for the future. We have to talk about the new strains. Dr. Edward from ECRMC said a couple days ago in a recent press conference that this is the calm before the storm. He had a UCSD doctor sitting by his side, and that doctor had reported that already 5% of San Diego's caseload was of the new strain and that it was up to 75% more transmissible and had a higher mortality. This is why we are now wearing double masks. Let us not ignore this warning. January was by far the deadliest month in California. A lot of bodies dropped dead in our county, 50 of them in 1 week. We are up to 551 lost lives. It's not the time for politics. It is a time for solutions to continue to be put on the table and considered in good faith, with proper adherence to debate rules. So our mappings for the future, 3 last points: continued vaccine advocacy, coordination of healthcare provider efforts, economic recovery and adaptability plans, COVID-related, we have this COVID-related sales tax hole that we have to fill. It's an excellent opportunity to review our microbusiness competitiveness strategy, lift up our tiangueros that are especially hurting because of the closure of Santo Tomas. And lastly, communication on quarantine resources with renewed emphasis on mental health services. Thank you, that is my report.
Thank you. Moving on, presentation by Liliana Falumil, Public Works Manager regarding water treatment plan and water distribution system.
switch the slides. Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members, staff present, as well as those seeing us via social media. My name is Liliana Falomir, and I'm the Public Works Manager for the Public Works Department. Today, I will be giving you a brief presentation regarding our water treatment plant and our water distribution system. Our water treatment plant is located at 545 Pierce Avenue here in Calexico. Next slide, please. Our water treatment plant is open year-round. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week. We currently have 2 shifts. One shift comes in at 6 in the morning, and then the second shift comes at 6 p.m. Our water treatment plant was built in 1949 and has had 3 major upgrades, 1968, 1986, and 2000. The capacity of our water treatment plant is 16 million gallons, which also includes 25 million gallons of raw water, and that's located on V.V. Williams. The maximum daily use is 9 million gallons per day, and the maximum annual total is 2.2 billion gallons of water. Next slide. Right here, you'll find our organizational chart. As you can see, our organization, of course, it's our city manager, then myself, and then we have our water system supervisor. Then we have a chief operator. We also have a water lead. We have 5 operators that are grade 3, 1 operator that is grade 2, and 3 laborers. Right now, we are recruiting for another grade 3 operator. If you are interested, please visit our city website where you can find the job description and more information about the position. Right here, you'll find the water treatment plant operating budget. As you can see, our total budget is 2.5, of which 1.3 is for just salary and benefits, and the remaining 1.2 is for our daily operations and maintenance in the plant. Next slide. And now I would like to introduce Jose Saldaña. He's our water system supervisor. Mr. Saldaña holds a certificate for treatment grade 5, as well as distribution grade 5, which is the highest level of certification for the state when it comes to water.
Good evening, Council. As Lily mentioned, my name is Jose Saldaña. I'm the water system supervisor. And one of the goals of this presentation is for us to have an understanding, or to have a better understanding of how dirty water, canal water, or a treatment plant can turn dirty water, raw water, into drinking water, water safe to drink. So the process starts at the raw water reservoir. It's a 25 million gallons reservoir that gets water from the American Canal, and in turn gets water from the Colorado River. The process starts at the water treatment plant. The first process is called coagulation, flocculation, when some chemicals are applied to the clarifier. I mean, maybe I shouldn't do this, but the picture, the second row, second picture, that's the picture of the clarifier. That's what the process starts. It's called the clarification process of the water. Then after the chemicals are applied, the water goes into the filters, which is the next picture to your left. From the filters, once the water goes into the filters, it goes into a clear well. It's a basin. The water looks clear, clarified. It's not ready to drink yet. It still has some bacteria in there. So the final process is called disinfection. It's where chlorine is injected. There is other type of disinfectants that we can use, like ozone or UV, but very successfully we have used chlorine chlorine gas to disinfect the water, the bacteria remaining on the water, which in turn, it creates a byproduct. When you add this, the disinfectant chlorine into the water, it creates a byproduct called trihalomethanes. And the next slides, we're going to talk a little bit more about the trihalomethanes, the formation of them, and the contaminant levels, and the history of them. And after the water is filtered and disinfected, it is stored on the distribution tanks. We have 2 tanks at the water treatment plant, one of them being 6 million gallons. The second one to the left is the 4 million gallon tank. That total of 10 million at the water plant. And then we have another 6 million on the east side of town. So it gave us a total of 16 million gallons capacity, which is the treatment capacity for the treatment plant. So at this point, if I'm going too fast, let me know, or if you have any questions, you can stop me at any time. After the water is stored at the distribution tanks, is pumped using the distribution pumps, the 4 distribution pumps at the water treatment plant to the citizens of Calexico, to the houses for water consumption, fire protection, potable use. So can we go to the next slide?
Our water treatment plant routinely monitors the process of the drinking water and of its contaminants. In the summer of 2019, the TTHM levels were a little high. Therefore, we had to send 3 notices, one in November 7th, 2019, the other one in January 21, 2020, and then on April 17th of 2020. Next slide. Because of the TTHMs were high, staff did a lot of research as to what can we do to decrease those levels and meet state standards. They, as I mentioned, researched. They got a company, Utility Services Co., that provided us a proposal to install a PAX RS aeration system at our Eastside Water Reservoir, and that cost was $212,588, and the improvements were done in 2 phases. Mr. Saldaña will be talking about phase 1. Martha, please change slide. Change slide, please.
So as Lily mentioned, we have some issues in the past in regards to TTHMs, the formation of trihalomethanes with the injection of chlorine as a disinfectant. Back in November of 2019, which is a little bit over a year from now, we started having issues with the formation of trihalomethanes. We went over the standard, the DDW, Department of Drinking Water Standards. So we started a pilot program. So it took us a couple of months to figure out the formation of the trihalomethanes. So by doing or by collecting multiple samples from different areas of the community, we found that the majority of the formation was taking place at the Eastside Reservoir. So it took us about 3 months. So by roughly by February, March of this year, we were able to figure out where the majority of formation was taken. So we started contacting companies, DHS Water, Suez, number of companies, to give us a presentation to get the best solution, and obviously the most economic solution, and to show guys, to show it to present it to council, so to get it approved. And we found that the PAC system, it was the best solution. So we started the process with the state of California, the Department of Drinking Water, to get a conditional approval to install the system. And we got the approval, the conditional approval back in, I want to say, June or July of last year. we started the process. So we started phase one in September of this year. Phase one, which was the upgrade of the existing mixer. So we had a small mixer, so we upgraded to a 600. You see the tripod on the tank? That's the mixer. So it mixes the water. And then the one on the left, what says packs, is the power vent. We added a power vent. So we were creating a turbulence, movement on the water, and the vent was taking the trichromatic out to atmosphere. So that was, and then we had two vents, two 24 inches vents. So that alone gave us a little bit over 20% removal. So that was phase one on September. Then can we go to the next slide? Okay, phase two of the TTHM removal was the installation of the surface aerator. That one was completed the second week of January, which is like two weeks from now. And we are collecting samples again in March. We're collecting samples from March. So this system was completed on the second week of January, which is 2 weeks from now. And we're going to get at least 30% removal. And we're going to be meeting state standards from now in the future.
Next slide.
Yeah.
So as you see this spreadsheet that we have here, this is the 4 locations that are monitored for TTHMs. And the location number 4, which is Sapphire and Cantu, is where we had an increase from 85, 91, 89, 86. Once they started installing phase 1, we saw a reduction in September. It went down to 74, and in December it went down to 68. So the installation of both phase 1 and phase 2 has assisted us in lowering the TTHMs. Next slide. Part of also the water treatment is our water distribution division. In front of you, you'll find our organizational chart. As I mentioned before, we have Mr. Saldaña as our grade 5 in distribution. Then we currently have a vacant position, which is the water distribution lead. We also have 2 grade 2 operators, 3 grade 1 operators, and 1 meter reader. Next slide. And here you'll find the operation budget for our water distribution. It's 1.2 million. 722,000 goes to salary and benefits, and the remaining 478 goes to the daily operation. The city currently has about 106 miles of water distribution lines. As previously mentioned by Mr. Saldaña, we have 4 distribution pumps that send the water into our distribution system. We also have 2,000 per meter pump, as well as a generator. The city has a 5-year capital improvement program, but before you is our fiscal year 2021 capital improvement program just for the water department, which is about $9.3 million. The majority of the projects are currently either construction or in the design phase. For example, our water pipeline replacement project, right now we're replacing old water lines on 2nd Street, Dual, and Beach. And also, one of the items that we're currently working we had hired the Holt Group to assist us was the transition of the of the gas chlorine to liquid chlorine. If you see far to your right, these are our chlorine cylinders that we have at our water treatment plant. And we're trying to go into liquid chlorine, which will help our environment and also be less hazardous to our environment. because any type of spillage that we have in our chlorine room at the water treatment plant can cause for us, of course, to contact the residents within a 2-mile radius and let them know that they have to evacuate. We haven't had that situation, but if we ever have to, especially where the water treatment plant is at, we have 2 schools. We have Visit Memorial High School as well as Mains Elementary School. So hopefully we'll bring that project to you in the next couple of months for review and approval. Again, just to mention that our tap water, the tap water that you receive at your homes meets all the drinking water health standards from the United States Environmental Protection Agency, as well as the State Water Resource Control Board Division of Drinking Water. So if you have any questions, we're more than welcome to.
Anyone has any questions?
I do have a question. Based on our, and I think Gloria might have wanted to bring up this point, can you describe to the council just very, very briefly what are our vocational training needs at this moment and how we can maybe move forward on them?
As I mentioned during my presentation, there is about 2 positions that we currently have vacant that we're recruiting. It has been very tough for us to find the people to come and work for us because, of course, they have to have a certain grade in order to work at our water treatment plant. So, you know, what we do is we advertise in our newspaper. We also advertise on our website. And then we also, IBC has certain classes that they provide for both water distribution and water treatment. So we also let them know. But due to COVID, I'm not sure they're having courses since COVID started. So we do need to reach out or try to, instead of, because of the water treatment plant, they need a grade 3, maybe have grade 2s, but on in the job training. That way they can prepare themselves when there is a opening in grade 3.
Question just to clarify. So IVC goes up to which grade?
IVC does,
Actually, IBC gives you the basics in education, and then once you have certain classes like units, you can go to the state, apply in the State Department of Drinking Water for certification. You go through a process, and then you take a grade 1 exam, either on distribution or water treatment, and then if you successfully pass it, then you acquire a grade 1 distribution or treatment operator, and then once you build up the experience and a little bit more of education, you're eligible to take the grade 2. And then most of the plants in Imperial Valley, they're T3 or higher. So it's pretty hard to get a T3 with experience. So it will be a good idea, or my recommendation, to start a pilot program, like an operator and training program, hire a grade 1, grade 2, train them for a couple of years or a year, and then encourage them to get a grade 3 and then be able to operate the plant on their own.
That sounds like an excellent idea, and based on our conversation that we had during the tour, this is an idea that we can implement not just for the water treatment operators, but also for the mechanics and for everybody else that works at Public Works, correct? Just a recommendation for the council. Thank you.
no, and we do encourage for those who are looking for a career to go into either the water or wastewater. As Mr. Saldaña mentioned, all the plants here in the Imperial Valley go to grade 3 and above, and we are constantly if a person applies here, they also apply in El Centro, and we have some see where there's the need in all plants in the Imperial Valley as well as statewide for these types of positions.
I see. Thank you.
Any more questions?
No, I just want to commend, the work that you do, and we all know that, this is one of our things or services that we provide to our community, and I'm glad to see this presentation, and our community sees this also, and that is 24/7, 7 days, 7 days a week, holidays and everything, in between. So thank you for what you do. Please extend, our how grateful we are for what you guys do. So, and definitely I like the idea of creating probably some pilot programs, some apprenticeships, something that will meet the demands of our workforce needs. And that, yeah, so maybe contacting the rest of the cities and looking at the local demands, looking at the labor market demands, and that's something that, can be explored. So, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Saldaña, what did you say for the environmental impact pending?
Well, the chlorine, it's, there's great issue. We have issues with chlorine gas. It's super regulated. The main issue is operator safety. They have to go in and out to replace the cylinders. We're part of the RMP, the Risk Management Program, and their recommendation, and because of the environmental, it's and they even ask us, how come you haven't go from gas chlorine to liquid? All the cities did. El Centro is in the process of doing it, so we're probably going to be the last city to go from gas chlorine to liquid.
That is very necessary.
Yeah, it is very necessary, yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just particularly important for me that obviously the safety and health and safety of our citizens of Calexico, and obviously installing the new technology certainly moves forward that security we should be providing our ratepayers. I know we had some couple of incidents that the testing wasn't up to par, but certainly we're heading in the right direction. So we won't have that incident to happen again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for your report. Moving on to announcements.
Thank you.
Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on the City of Calexico website at www.calexico.ca.gov the Friday following the City Council meeting. Community office hours with Mayor Ariola Fernandez will be held on the fourth Tuesday of the month from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Please contact the City Clerk's office at 760-768-2102 for an appointment.
Public comments and public appearances.
Note not to exceed 3 minutes. This is a time for the public to address the City Council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. During the current state of emergency, public comments will be received on the following ways. 1. Submit public comments via email by 2 p.m. on Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021 at 2ggarcia@calexico.ca.gov or via fax to 760-768-2103. These comments will be read out loud during the meeting and entered into the record. Make public comments live via Zoom by submitting the request via Zoom chat. Persons should submit name and section of the agenda they wish to speak on, such as public comments, or state the agenda item number. Any comments received during or after the meeting will be distributed to the City Council and retained for the official record. The City Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. I'm sorry, my battery went out.
Okay. Public comments.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Katie Luna, and I'm going to pass this down. I just want to thank you for allowing me to give you a quick update. My name is Katie Luna. I'm the CEO for the Brawley Chamber of Commerce and the coordinator for the Imperial Valley Business Recovery Task Force. And I want to share with you a little bit about the Business Recovery Task Force and the initiative that we have going right now. And what I'm looking for is for the council to support by letting the business community know the offerings that we have available to them right now. So the Business Recovery Task Force was founded April of last year, between March and April. Immediately after the businesses were made to close due to the pandemic, we brought together partners in the community that are the first responders for the business community. So we brought together the community agencies that are designed to help the businesses on a regular basis, the SBDC, the IVADC, Chambers of Commerce. We came together as one entity to digest what was happening in our business community, understand what needed to be done, and it proved very critical in the beginning as we did not see direction come from the state for the business community until much later. So we have been working on the COVID pandemic and supporting the business community with resources over the past year. And I want to share with you that right now we have a program. It's the 2021 COVID Labor Law Webinars, and it's at no cost to the business community. It's a 2-hour, one session, 2 hours. The businesses, the business owners, the HR departments can come to the webinar. They can learn directly from a Cal OSHA representative on how they need to conduct business as it pertains to SB 1159, which is the legislation that tells you if someone has a positive test, can they come back to work? Do they need to be tested? So on and so forth. We do have an attorney that speaks on AB 685, which is how the business needs to report to the employees if there is a positive COVID test in the workplace. And for those businesses that attend, for giving us their 2 hours of time and attention, which we know is valuable, we're going to give them complimentary labor law posters, English or Spanish, their choice. And we're going to give them a $25 credit toward implementing a contact tracing technology that we have vetted. And that technology, I can't tell you, we've implemented in my office, and it has been a time saver. And basically what it does is, if you have a large entity like the city, instead of having to go to each employee that is a positive COVID test and say, okay, who did you talk to, and try to contact trace on your own, which could take a lot of hours, they can now self-certify. I have a positive test. Here's who I talked to in the past time frame that's required. And so you're cutting out a lot of the time that's needed. So it's a very valuable tool for the business community. The businesses that attend will also receive masks, sanitizers, and some other goods as we're able to get them. We'll put them in the bag and send them to the business community. So I just want to make sure that you guys know of this offering. We do have workshops coming up. I passed around a flyer. I'll leave these at the city with Miguel to pass out. English and Spanish, morning session in English, afternoon session in Spanish, February 11th, 25th, March 11th, and 25th. And you can find more information on our website, ivbizrecovery.com. I want to also just briefly, if I may, I don't want to take too much time, but just to touch on some other things that we've worked on through the task force, and then also share something that just came up this afternoon through the chamber. So the Business Recovery Task Force has worked closely with the county over these past few months as it has been up and down with COVID in the community. One of the things that we have done, particularly in Calexico in recent weeks, is understanding that the providers who are going to be giving the vaccines, that we recognize there was only one just a few weeks ago. So through the Business Recovery Task Force and my team at the Chamber, we've been on the phone encouraging providers to sign up through the state. We've been providing them information, working together with the county to make sure that we have enough providers signed up for the vaccine to be distributed. We want to make sure that as a council, as a city, that you guys are also talking to local providers. We want to make sure that there's enough providers so when the vaccine is available, we can get people vaccinated and get our economy back to work safely. We want to make sure that our businesses can be up and running, but we also want to make sure it's in a safe manner. And then to take off my hat for the task force, I want to put on my chamber hat and just let you know that this afternoon around 5 o'clock, I spoke with the San Ysidro Chamber of Commerce. And there is an initiative that we signed on to from the Brawley Chamber that is calling for reopening of the border because of the economic hardship that it's creating for cities like Calexico and the downtown businesses. And Even up in El Centro at the mall, and even up in Brawley at the beef plant, we see trouble for people getting to work with the border being closed. So through the chamber, we've signed on to this initiative. I'm going to take this initiative to the task force and see how we can look at that through the lens of the task force, which covers the whole valley, and if there's work that we can do to further that initiative. So again, we could get the border and the businesses back operating safely. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
You want to have questions?
I just want to recognize and also say a few comments. It is no secret that also through my other hat that I wear during the daytime, I also have attended some of the meetings at your IB Business Recovery Task Force, which is very dynamic, to say the least. But also, Ms. Luna has also taken some of her time to actually come to our community, not just Brawley. You know, she's the chamber executive over at the Brawley Chamber of Commerce, but also she has taken the time to come to our community. And to be more exact, that was back on January 17, around 2 p.m. I get a call from Ms. Luna that she wants to come down to Calexico as part of the Business Recovery Task Force member, and to kind of like tour our city, see some potential sites for the pop-up testing, sites, for the bus. And, so I thought that was a very good idea, but I said, well, she's coming to our city, might as well, accompany her and give her a tour of our city. So with that in mind, we went and we actually met on 2nd Street, and I'm sorry that I'm taking a little bit longer to explain this, but I think it's worth it. So that's when we drive up to 3rd Street, and we saw the One Stop. And that's where I told her, I said, you know what, the One Stop will be a perfect site, a perfect location for a pop-up testing site. A lot of the red tape will be not there because it's a site that is, the lease is held by the county, so there wouldn't be any red tape. The city could help. And, that's how that came about. That's how the one-stop site came about and came available. So, which, again, if you ask around the community, if they're familiar with the one-stop, they're going to tell you, el desempleo, the unemployment office. So, through the leadership and advocacy of Ms. Luna, she went back and talked to an official over at the county, Mr. Lamour, which was very empathetic to that idea and receptive, and that's how that came about, through that. And then we went around, we looked at different sites. So again, thank you for that, for taking the time and having that vision to come out to Calexico. And then also for making us aware, or making me aware at least, that we only have the one provider that was approved to, administer vaccinations. And there were some that they were assuming that they were part of it, and that was not the case. So you also took, the time to let them know this is the process that you have to do. So again, you help someone locally to get certified, at least to go through the process. Then also, the other thing, something that we just signed, as a council, the letter that went to the governor, Ms. Luna was behind that. She was very instrumental in having that go to all the council from the different cities. So thank you for that also. Through your leadership, through working with us, working with me, having trust in us and in me personally, I can't really thank you enough. I think, Mr. Ureña alluded earlier that by far that has been one of the best sites for testing. So again, thank you for that. Thank you for conveying that, to Mr. Lamour at the county, to your contacts. And I'm just looking forward for that, to that communication and to your continued leadership. And hopefully you can continue to keep us informed and abreast of what you're doing, both at the IB Business Recovery Task Force and also at the Chamber. I think, you're doing some outstanding work. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, and so so one of the ways that the testing, the pop-up testing came about is through this program. We are working with businesses to make sure that they are sending their employees to the testing sites. We were looking at coordinating pop-up testings where we can have employers that have large amounts of employees. If it's a manufacturing and they have 100, 200 employees, we can get a pop-up testing in those locations. So we've worked on that a little bit. That's how we came about with the one-stop location. But yeah, thank you very much for the comments. We're doing what we can to make sure that at the end of this, our business community can sustain. Because it's so important, and I will sing it from the mountaintops, it's so important for our business community to make it through what is going on now, because it means that there's opportunity for people to have jobs, to have income, to have access to health care. These are all our social determinants of health, and it depends on our economy. It really does. So we got to do what we can to make sure that our economy is going to be able to sustain.
Thank you.
Any more questions? No. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, do we have someone else? Public comments?
Comments?
Good night, my name is Hugo Castro. I'm a Calexican, also Mexicali, Cachanilla. I grew up in Calexico and also Mexicali. I was born in Salinas, California. A son of a war veteran, Roberto Castro Perez, rest in peace. A grandson of another great war veteran, Martin Velázquez Veloz, rest in peace. They served this country, they serve this nation as many, and we always trying to say thanks for your service, you great warrior. In this case, they are ignored warriors, left behind by the nation and now by the city of Calexico. These warriors, as my father and my grandfather, they served. They were placero workers. They served, now called essential workers. They saved the nation from hunger as a result of World War II. They were ignored. Now, our essential workers that are feeding America, that are risking their lives for serving and guaranteeing that food are in each table of Americans without discriminating if they live in Mexicali or they live here. They are living in Mexicali because they cannot afford the expensive related to their income housing here in the valley, especially in Calexico that we are, there's a housing crisis. That's the reason I started a camp right there in a property that was called surplus property here when it's actually, we have a housing crisis in Calexico, and we have a lot of fallacies because of ignorance of what is going in the city, and also because of the ignorance of the dynamics of both cities, border cities, and both nations. And I have gone through Talisman, Chiapas, all the way to Washington, D.C., and I have known many leaders, such as Dolores Huerta, and many others of them, and Antonio Bertade, rest in peace, who was my director of a coalition for humane immigration rights that was undocumented, fighting for the rights of human beings. Human beings. A piece of, you should not base your humanity or your dignity in a piece of paper. Either you are an American or a dollar. And we are really behind of serving God.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. Point of information, just a brief point of information. Disculpame.
Well, it's going to be, he has the right to know, it's going to be.
I'm making a point of, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry. Madam Mayor, I'm making a point of information. For your information, a point of information can stop debate. I know that you're looking at the clock, but I just want to inform you that Mr. Castro has a disability, therefore he gets to speak for 4.5 minutes. You didn't stop Ms. Luna. I don't want you to stop him at 3 minutes. Continue, Mr. Castro.
In 18,000 farm workers come here to the valley in guaranteed to feed the American families, but also contribute to more than $2 billion agribusiness industry. Most of them live in Mexicali. What are we doing? Are we talking about the veterans, the ones who are seniors who are still working because they cannot afford the living and have to continue working? Are we talking about serving also what about the health crisis that started as a result of closing the bathrooms here in Calexico? There's a lot of points that I'm just pointing as a servant of God that delights in social justice and truth. And I'm just want to point out that we have to do something and work together. You know, community, activists, public servants. In my case, I'm a servant of a public, an unofficial servant of the public, and working both sides of the border. We have to work together. I can provide some research that I have been conducting for the last years and also the last months in August here at this region. To be able to understand better the most vulnerable community here, such as the homeless community, especially the farm workers, essential workers, that are the ones that are saving local business from starving, because local business here in the downtown are being saved by the farm workers that are buying their products and services and taking to Mexicali. So we have to consider that to be working together in order to find a very effective way to combat this pandemic that is affecting the world without showing the papers. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Anybody has any questions?
No.
No? Okay, moving on. Martha?
We have Diego Rivera for public comments. We have Diego Rivera for public comments. We have Diego Rivera for public comments.
Yes, my name is Diego Rivera. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we do. Mr. Rivera?
Yes, my name is Diego Rivera Valencia. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Rivera.
My name is Diego Rivera Valencia. I am owner producer of Mini Metropolis Production Studios, Coverage Action, Realistic Television Entertainment Channel. I have a project for a movie production company in Imperial Valley in the area of Calexico. I spoke to the city about it. It's about 3 miles long, half a mile wide. It's going to have its own water treatment, sewage treatment plant. It's going to have its own power. It's going to build its own aggregate concrete and asphalt. What I'm asking the city council if they can proceed with my movement forward on my permits and my license so I can go ahead and hire staff and start placing them so they can build the paperwork needed for this. Property's already been set. I've been allowed on property. It's behind Toys R Us on the other side of the All-American Canal by Jasper Road. City of Calexico has allowed me to obtain this property, and I'm asking the city if there's a couple of buildings in the city that I can use. There's nobody in them. I'm asking city council if they can help me out with this. Also, to be able to move forward, so I can bring my funds from New York City and place it security in a bank in Calexico. I already talked to the bank. There's a certain process because of the COVID that they will not allow me to move forward unless the city of Calexico gives me certain paperwork process so that I can obtain my money here in Calexico. I was born in Calexico. I was raised in Calexico. I was filming in the Hollywood area, Van Nuys, Burbank, and apparently COVID hit, and I never stopped moving on the necessity of building. So asking the city council of Calexico if there's any way they can help me with this. I've been working for about 8 months now, and on obtaining properties and moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Rivera, you wanted to call city, oh, excuse me.
For about 8 months now, and on obtaining properties and moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Rivera, you wanted to call city, oh, excuse me.
For about 8 months now, and on obtaining properties and moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Rivera, you wanted to call city, oh, excuse me.
For about 8 months now, and on obtaining properties and
Yeah, just remember the council for public comments, because these items aren't agendized, generally just maybe brief remarks at the most is appropriate because they're not agendized, so just want to remind the council on that.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Because for public comments, because items aren't agendized, it's generally just a brief comment in response to those is what's appropriate. Just want to remind the council.
From the council, right?
From the council, because they're not agendized, shouldn't be happy to get into a discussion. But brief comments are appropriate, but not a discussion.
Okay, thank you. Next one.
We have Jennifer Lopez for public comments.
Comments are appropriate, but not a discussion.
Okay, thank you. Next one.
We have Jennifer Lopez for public comments.
Comments are appropriate, but not a discussion.
Okay, thank you. Next one.
We have Jennifer Lopez for public comments.
Comments are appropriate, but not a discussion.
Okay, thank you. Next one.
We have Jennifer Lopez for public comments.
Comments are appropriate, not a discussion.
Okay, thank you. Next one.
Okay, she left the Zoom session, so she's not available. So we have Leticia Aldana Cota for public comments. Okay, she left the Zoom session, so she's not available. So we have Leticia Aldana Cota for public comments. That's what Gabby told me right here.
No, I did not. Hello? I didn't leave. I'm here.
Sí, te escuchamos.
Hello?
Señora Cota, sí te escuchamos.
Yes, Mrs. Cota. We could hear you.
Aquí la tengo. Let's see if she'll reply. That's my phone call. Oye, Leti, I
did not leave. I'm still here waiting to be.
I know there's something going on with the Zoom. I'm just gonna put you by the microphone so you can do your comment. ¿Está bien?
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna put you by the mic. Give me one quick second. Go ahead, start speaking.
Hello?
Can everybody hear her?
Hello?
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we could.
Yes.
Hello, hello?
Sí se escucha. Go ahead.
Okay, hello. Hi, everyone. I totally dislike this technology, especially when it messes up. I'd like to thank Mr. Oreña that he was graciously enough to have seen my message and contacted me when they said that I had left when I didn't. And the reason for my call, all of you know me. I'm famous, infamous Leticia Aldana Cota. And I read somewhere or heard through the grapevine that the council tonight is going to be voting on dismantling the COVID committee. I'd like to know whose bright idea was that, because that is the most ludicrous thing I've heard. First of all, we need every single
Excuse
bit of
me,
help
Ms.
that we
Cota,
can get.
I don't want to interrupt you, but
I like the idea.
Mrs. Cota?
I like the idea that I heard
Tell
Mr.
her that it's
Garcia
gonna come
here
up in the
mention
agenda. She needs to speak
and Mr.
on the agenda
Ureña
item.
Oh,
how
okay.
successful
Dice
the
la
testing has been.
Oye, Leti, sorry about that. Dice la señora alcaldesa que, como ya se sabe los procedimientos, que tienes que hablar en esto durante el item, cuando venga en la
Because
agenda.
I'm sorry and I apologize because I could see the agenda for whatever reason. I'm having problems, so okay. Then you guys can call me back when the item is on.
Yes, okay, sounds good. I'll call you back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Be safe.
Are we allowed to be doing that? Picking up our phone and calling people?
The thing is that our technology is not, we're supposed to provide the public an opportunity to public comment on the item, and obviously our technology is not working appropriately, so I think if we have other means, I think it's appropriate to allow people to comment. Because they are trying through the system, and it's unfortunately not working, so if there are other means to allow people to comment on items, I think it's appropriate. So.
What is the problem? What is the problem for the system?
I don't know. We
Yeah,
need to fix that.
During other times, right, people would have to either
Excuse
write.
me?
If it was non-COVID times, people would either be here in public or submit their written comments.
Yes.
It's very straightforward. Obviously, right now, during the pandemic, their executive order that does allow for these type of meetings to be handled remotely. We are supposed to accommodate that. Everybody's doing it differently, but here, because we are, and a lot of agencies do have technology issues, and because of that, we need to try to accommodate.
Okay, so we could be on our phone, then we could be texting and calling people on our phone? Is that what you're telling us now? My
That's-
understanding that we're not supposed to be doing that.
What I'm saying is.
I know what
this-
you're saying
on this
is
con-
because he contacted her.
I'm saying this woman was having issues trying to call in through our technology, and we found there was another means.
Okay.
So I'm just speaking because she was speaking on the item, and
No,
our
I
technology
understand.
was not
I
working.
understand that. Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's just because our technology is not working, and we need to accommodate.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only reason, because they were trying to do it right then.
Okay, moving forward.
We have comments that came in via email.
Excuse me?
We have comments that came in via email,
Okay.
so I'm going to read some of them, well, all of them. February 2nd, 2021, Honorable Mayor and council members. The last council meeting on January 20, 2021 began at 6:30 p.m., which would have ended at 9 p.m. like I've seen in other council meetings. Unfortunately, that did not happen this time. The fact is The council meeting ended at 10:30 p.m., and I do not understand why the agenda for that day was not the primary focus. Mr. Raul, our newly elected council person, seems to be responsible that the meeting went on that long. In fact, since Mr. Raul Yu has been on board, he has been monopolizing and focusing on his own interests and agenda without any consideration of the working citizens of Calexico, even though time and time again he claims to be working to help our citizens. Focusing on the agenda is primary rather than dovetailing into other matters that are not part of the agenda. I would hope that future council meetings begins focusing on the agenda at hand without further interruption from Mr. R. Ureña, that each meeting ends by 9 p.m. Thank you. Concerned citizen of Calexico, initial N. Mendez. Calexico City Clerk. I'm compelled to write this letter to the City Council as a request to stop this bickering and fighting among each other. To then think positive and take this city to another level. Raúl Ureña, hoy must stop these attacks on our Mayor, Rosie Fernandez. Keep insisting that she was committing and selling city's First Street property to the federal government. You are wrong. It takes 3 council votes to get things done, as you have encountered trying to get your personal agendas to pass. Leave her alone, as well as the other council that you don't favor. Get off your high horse and do something positive for our beloved city. Send this anonymous. Raúl Ureña, this is the same part of it comes with the previous page. Raúl Ureña and Roret Romo must stop and refrain using cell phones and laptop and communicating on the diocese with the outside world without the complete council adhering to it.
Madam Mayor, point of information, who is keeping time on these comments?
Excuse me?
Who is keeping time on these comments?
I can't hear what you're saying.
Who is keeping time on these comments? ¿Quién está tomando tiempo?
I mean, generally the city clerk, I know our city clerk's not here. I know normally the process, what we do before the meeting, and obviously, she's not here, is we'll go through the comments. Because generally, well, before I get into that, I just want to remind everybody again, public comments are 3 minutes, and we need to keep everybody at 3 minutes. If we let some speakers go beyond, then...
So it should be just 3 minutes.
Correct, but that means we need to keep everybody at 3 minutes.
Well, what's happening, we're not following it.
Correct.
I mean, I've been asked, he was asked, whoever he wants to extend the meeting.
Actually, that was a disability.
How many minutes was that?
Let me explain.
Can you explain the disability concern to her?
Well, the disability, I'm not sure how that works, honestly. I'm just speaking it on the public comment portion. We either need to stick to it strictly,
Yes,
or we can't be going up and down. That's when you have an issue. So,
well, we need to stick to it.
Correct, and that's my recommendation always. So even for the next meeting, public comments, I want you to be strict 3 minutes to everybody.
I totally agree.
Once we start allowing other speakers to go beyond, it's hard to then say, you can go over and you can't. That's when you have an issue. So we gotta make sure we keep it at 3 minutes and explain how this generally we do it. Obviously, these are unprecedented times. I mean, like I said, this is what we do for the written is Gabby will time it up to 3 minutes. And then she'll read the written comment up to 3 minutes. People do it differently. Some agencies have a word limit. Sometimes they say like it's either. So, but here the way the practice has been done is Gabby on the written comment would read the 3 minutes of that public comment. And then
we'll have the city manager, keep time or someone from.
Attorney Campos, I have a question. I have a quick question before we move forward, Madam Mayor. Is there anything preventing the mayor from reading them out loud like literally every other city council? Because usually it's the mayor that reads the comments. I don't know why we make the clerk do it.
It can be...
So she can do it, right?
If those are procedural questions.
If she wants to.
What?
Traditionally here it's been the city clerk.
We have a city clerk doing it.
Yes, other city councils have the mayor do it. Maybe you should. La verdad.
Moving forward.
Let's get back to the meeting.
Let's get back to the meeting and moving forward. Mrs. Gomez, will you continue? And Mr.
Thank you.
Fiora, could you time it? Okay.
Thank you.
Are you going to tell me when to stop?
I'll tell you when to come, you go.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to read, we got several that are the same. I'm only going to read one and then read the difference on each one. This one is from Kayla G. Dear City Clerk, my name is Kayla Gomez and I'm a citizen, student, and fellow human contacting you from Santa Cruz to express some concerns in regards to the needs of the essential workers that contribute largely to our food supply throughout the nation. The following statement is not my own words, though I strongly align with it. As the nation grapples with the devastating effects of the global pandemic, our field workers continue to show up to work at early hours of the morning to feed us. Many of these essential workers have found the public restrooms are unavailable to them, forcing them to do their needs at alleys, streets, parks, etc. This is not the way we should be treating some of the most essential workers we have, or anyone in our cities and communities for that matter. Our homeless community also relies heavily on these facilities. These are real people with real problems. They also struggle with a pandemic just like the rest of us. We cannot exacerbate their situation by chipping away at their dignity and forcing them to take other alternatives for their human needs. Installing brand new gates to protect the alleys from the stench is only but a solution that completely ignores the real issue, the lack of available restrooms. Their needs do not stop with the closure of alleys. Council members, leaders, urge you to please open up public restrooms in Calexico as soon as possible so our homeless community as well as our essential workers have access to them during these difficult times, that we can at least alleviate some of their suffering. Thank you with the utmost sincerity. Kayla Gomez, politics undergraduate, UC Santa Cruz. And then I have the same one by, my name is Alicia Munoz and I am resident of the Imperial Valley. And she put the only difference is, P.S. I was unaware about this issue until now. Thanks to social media, I will continue to share this. Please email me back or issue out a public statement referencing what actions, if any, the city will take. This is important. I have another one, the same. My name is Megan Woody, and while I am not a resident of Calexico, I want to pass along this message. Megan Woody, Master of Public Health, 2021, Emory University. I have another one by Lily Wetmore. My name is Lily Wetmore, and I'm a resident of Santa Cruz, California. That's it. Another one from Elise Pujol. My name is Elise Pujol, and I am a resident of Imperial. Another one, it's the same, Hillary Asher, and it's the same. My name is Hillary Asher. I am a resident of Long Beach, California. Emailing because it has come to my attention that essential workers in Calexico do not have access to public restrooms when they are hard at work feeding America. That's the only difference. I have another one from Ismael Arvizo. First things first. Rosie and Camilo, I request for both of you to state your logic towards the closing of bathrooms back in the beginning of the pandemic. Was it because they were using your toilet paper? Was it because you didn't like waking up early to open the doors? You took public restrooms away. It doesn't get nastier than that. And you still had the audacity to pass those fences that Morris really worked so hard on. Obviously, I don't expect a response, knowing how quiet they have been with all the public comments that have been sent. I hope they open these public necessities again. Do it now. My name is Ismael Arvizo, and I am a resident of Calexico, and it has the same statements as the last ones I read. This is from Larissa Grijalva. My name is Larissa Grijalba. I am a former resident of Calexico. I am writing to urge you to give farm workers in Calexico's houseless population the basic amenities they deserve. Field workers continue to show up to work at early hours of the morning to feed us, despite risking their lives amidst a global pandemic. They bring food to your table. Many of these essential workers have found that public restrooms are unavailable to them, forcing them to use alleys, streets, parks, etc. Our houseless community, which you do almost nothing for, also relies heavily on these facilities. People need bathrooms. Installing brand new gates to protect the alleys from the stench is not only a waste of money, but also shows the great lengths the city will go to turn its back on the residents who need most help. Open up public restrooms in Calexico as soon as possible so that our houseless community and our essential workers have access to them during these difficult times. Sincerely, Larissa Grijalba. This is from Oscar Zavala, access to public restrooms for unhoused individuals and field workers. My name is Oscar Grijalba. I am a resident of Calexico. As a member of the community, I urge our leadership to open public restrooms, our field workers, and unhoused individuals of the city of Calexico. We are noticing how much of a challenge it is and that hardship these community members have to go through. In addition to the current pandemic, we ask our leadership to respond to this matter as soon as possible. Oscar O. Zavala, MPA. Let me get a drink of water. This is from Gloria Guzman, public comment for City Council. My name is Gloria Guzman. I am a resident of Calexico. Public restrooms offer the citizens the opportunity to relieve themselves when home is just too far. Citizens such as pregnant women, disabled people, and our farm workers benefit from these assets. Additionally, a spotted public restroom can be a blessing for parents who know all too well the importance of getting their child to a toilet as soon as her or she needs relief. But those who are greatly impacted are our farm workers who are essential, have found that public restrooms are unavailable to them, forcing them to do their needs at alleys, streets, parks, etc. This is not the way we should be treating some of the most essential workers we have. Our homeless community also relies heavily on these facilities. These are real people with real problems. They also struggle with the pandemic just like the rest of us. We cannot exacerbate their situation by chipping away at their dignity and forcing them to take other alternatives for their human needs. Installing brand new gates to protect the alleys from the stench is only but a solution. That completely ignores the real issue, the lack of available restrooms. Their needs do not stop with the closure of the alleys. Council members, I urge you to please open up public restrooms in Calexico as soon as possible so that our homeless community as well as our essential workers have access to them during these difficult times, and we can at least alleviate some of their suffering. Thank you, Gloria Guzman. This is from Dylan Castillo. If nothing else, please read the quote at the end. She is also writing about the same thing. It's the same thing that I just read. So her quote at the end is in red. In the words of Gandhi, the true measure of our society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. Thank you, Dylan Castillo. So this one is all the same, and it's public comments, and I'm going to read one, and then I'm going to read everybody's name. The first one is by Jasmine Acevedo. My name is Jasmine Acevedo. As the nation grapples, it's the same thing as on the restrooms. As the nation grapples with the devastating effects of the global pandemic, our field workers continue to show up to work at early hours of the morning to feed us. Many of these essential workers have found that public restrooms are unavailable to them, forcing them to do their needs at alleys, streets, parks, etc. This is not the way we should be treating some of the most essential workers we have. Our homeless community also relies heavily on these facilities. These are real people with real problems. They also struggle with the pandemic just as the rest of us. We cannot exaggerate their situation by chipping away at the dignity and forcing them to take other alternatives for their human needs. Installing brand new gates to protect the alleys from the stench is only but a solution that completely ignores the real issue, the lack of available restrooms. Their needs do not stop with the closure of alleys. Council members, I urge you to please open up public restrooms in Calexico as soon as possible so that our homeless community as well as our essential workers have access to them during these difficult times, and we can at least alleviate some of their suffering. So this one has thank you, and it has put your name, so it's like a generic email that was sent out, and they have a list of everybody that sent the same email. So I'm going to read everybody's name for the record. Jasmine Acevedo, Luis G. Hernandez, Laura Esquer, Joey Espinosa, CJ Vargas, D. Cervantes, Kelly Garcia, Brian Vega, Jocelyn Lozano, Teresa Medina, Stephanie Montaño, Priscilla Ramirez, Valerie Aguilar, Stephanie Briceño, Nilsa Pérez, Laura Arteaga, Raúl Ureña, Stephanie Howdaway, Stacy Holguín, Liliana Manzanares, Giselle Regal, Laura González, Cristina Martínez, Keia López, Isabel Ureña, Christy Jiménez, Buenes Rodríguez, Alanis Gaitán, Angel Esparza, Cristo Ruelas, Mariel Vizcarra, Erica Flores, Ana Osuna, Hugo Castro, Ashley Díaz, Alejandro Corral, Angel de Dios, Antonio Rangel, Esteban Ojeda, Arranza Canchola, Amethyst Morales, Hilton Smith, Camila Muso, Cristo Cortés, Claudia Lucas, Lisette Salazar, Berta Carreño, Elizabeth Zamora, Victoria Bielma, Analí Peña, Diana Sánchez, Cesar Ramos, Jennifer Luna, Selena Flores, Brittany Clark, Casey Chang, Samantha Ramirez, Sarah Guzman, Melanie Beaver, Guadalupe Angulo, Megan Woody, Lily Wetmore, Alicia Munoz, Elsie Pujol, Kayla Gomez, Hillary Asher, and then it was submitted to us in Spanish. And the persons that sent it to us in Spanish were Jesus Francisco de la Toba Mejía, Enrique Ramírez, Guadalupe Rosas, María Rodríguez, and Judith Burgos Bernal.
Thank you. Do we have anything else?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you. Moving on. City Manager's report.
First off, Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the community that are following us today, I want to acknowledge Ms. Gomez, who's stepping in today in place of our city clerk, Gabby Garcia, who can't join us. So thank you very much for your help. It's much appreciated, Ms. Gomez. With that said, I want to share that this morning, Ms. Falomir, who is our Public Works Administrative Manager, and myself, had a meeting with Ty Stearns. Ty Stearns is assisting us right now. He is from Caltrans, and we are working on Canal Park. For those of you that may not know by name Canal Park, it's that strip of land between Edie and V.V. Williams. We've been working for quite some time to make sure that we restore that land. We've come up with a very inclusive project that considers some of the items that the Department of Transportation recommends, along with some of the concepts and ideas that Ms. Falomir and I have. We are getting closer. We've defined the next steps that we need to take to make sure that we bring back to life that piece of corridor that welcomes visitors to the city of Calexico. It's also my understanding that this council has been very clear in giving me direction to address this issue. So I'll be keeping you abreast of any updates that come up. I also want to share to the community over there by Las Casitas, as we know it here in town, that the management of Santo Tomas, the property owners, and myself have been in touch. And I also want to convey and thank the Public Works Department, because they're scheduled for early next week to go and trim the bugambilias right at the property line from the Santo Tomas property and the sidewalk, which is the city right-of-way. That's been a concern of our citizens from that part of town, and that is something, again, that will be handled and taken care of by our Public Works Department early next week. So I'm happy to share that. And again, I want to acknowledge the property owners of Santo Tomas that have been willing to speak with me and sort the situation out for the betterment of the community. I want to point out that our CMS boards have arrived. Public Works and I had a conversation about this. Lily, Ms. Falomir gave me the good news that the three CMS boards that were brought to this forum at our last meeting have been purchased and currently sit in our Public Works yard. So with that, we will begin coordination amongst departments in order to use them and communicate with the community any relevant information that we need to convey. I want to share that Ms. Lovatos, Ms. Carla Lovatos, and I, the finance director, will be bringing to the city council next week an item so we can have discussion and I can get your input and feedback as to where you folks as a city council, as a governing body, wish to use $147,889.23 that we've generated from our cannabis sales tax here in the city of Calexico. And if you bear with me, I want to remind the community, and I want to remind obviously the mayor and the council, that when the voters in November of 2018 approved Measure K, they actually approved Measure K with a 3/4 vote. It was completely a high vote. Measure K read, shall the city of Calexico adopt an ordinance enacting a tax on cannabis businesses, generating approximately an annual figure in sales tax money for the purpose of city services such as police and emergency response, parks, youth senior services, and street repair until ended. Meaning that those are the items that were identified with Measure K for the purpose of using this money. As we know, we have multiple needs in our city, so I will be bringing this item to your attention so we can get direction as to where the city council wants to use this money. I also want to provide an update on direction that I've been receiving from council. We are getting very close on setting a date for our strategic planning session. I've been in contact with local facilitators that have done a very good job, not only working with other cities, with other educational institutions in the valley, and also the county government. So as a matter of fact, right now I had a conversation today. We are wrapping up some fine points, and please expect council and mayor correspondence on my end in terms of choosing now specific dates that we can target for our strategic planning session that will target a plan for the next 5 years. As the meeting was called to order, around 6:30, I received an email with some positive news. I received correspondence from Sacramento letting me know that the execution phase of the agreement for the $28 million with the Department of Water Resource has begun. Okay. The execution phase means that all T's have been crossed, all I's have been dotted, legal has looked at it, both from the state and us here locally, and they're beginning to execute the actual document, which in turn will allow us to begin the project. So again, that's relevant and important information to share with the community, as we know the New River project has been long waited here in our community. So kudos to everybody involved, to my partner groups from the north part of the county, the County of Imperial, the Imperial Irrigation District. We're making progress. On that end, that concludes my city manager's report, Madam Mayor. If you folks have any questions or comments, I'll be happy to answer.
Anybody have any questions?
Just one.
Sure.
The update on the project room key for the trailers.
That's a great item, Mayor Pro Tem Moreno. At this moment right now, our attorneys that specifically are working on the travel trailer project with County Council are at a point right now in which they're just finalizing some of that specific language that needs to be in agreements in order to address future liabilities. I anticipate either bringing that item to this governing body by the next meeting, which is February 17th, or the first meeting in March.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have in regards to, I'm glad that finally the Bougainvilleas are going to be trimmed over Santo Tomas, but I don't know if you also had a chance to respond, or maybe you can coordinate also to respond at Rodriguez Park, right there by the tennis courts. The Overlanders are overgrown, and actually they're being used to certain activities to be conducted there. So the residents are concerned also on that side of town. So if you can look into that, that would be appreciated.
Absolutely, Councilman Garcia. And as a matter of fact, I have many more things to share with you, but I'm being very sensitive of the time. I'm pointing out the big items, and as you know, I keep you folks in the loop on a weekly basis on everything else happening in the city. We have a graffiti issue there where you mentioned at Rodriguez Park, besides the landscaping that needs to happen. That is also something on the radar of our Public Works Department that's going to be taken care of. One last thing that I cannot omit, I want to acknowledge the Code Enforcement Officer Safety Foundation, who through a GoFundMe account just provided security vest for our one of our code enforcement officers here in Calexico. And this is in honor of a fallen correctional code enforcement officer by the name of Jill Robinson. So this is something that within the foundation they do. They funded this opportunity for cities like El Centro. Now it happened to be here in Calexico. So we really are appreciative of this gesture, and it's very important that we acknowledge it.
Thank you. Moving on, any more questions? No? Okay. City Council comments and reports of meeting attended. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I attended a League of Sister Cities training we get as new city council members. That was very enlightening. That was 3 or 4 days we had with the two pending certifications. And also I attended with you, Mayor, on the Imperial County Transportation Committee also. And some of the topics we talked about, obviously the long waiting lines and so forth. They're actively involved with that. I also attended the Imperial Valley Continuum of Care Council, which that's the reason I brought that up, Mr. Figueroa, about the trailers. I understand, I believe the city of Calapets have dealing with the same matter, so that we are with that. And also on that note, they continue to with the Project Safeguard, where anybody who's has become a victim of COVID-19, they get to shelter at a hotel in El Centro. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Ureña.
Muchas gracias, señora alcaldesa. Muy buenas tardes, querido Cabildo de Calexico. Unas cuantas cositas por reportar. First, I had something beautiful to say to Mr. Garcia, and I'm still going to say it because it's still true. But before we get there, we have to correct la media mentira que se acaba de echar con lo del Calexico One Stop. Aquí tengo todos los hechos enfrente de mí. Empezamos.
I'm sorry, but I can't hear you, Mr. Ureña. Could you get closer to the...
Yes, of course. Okay. So what I said was, I have something beautiful to say to Mr. Garcia, and I'm still going to say it because it's still true. But before we get there, we have to clarify a half-truth that Mr. Garcia just said about the Calexico one-stop. So, I have an email in front of me from Jeff Lamore that was sent to Tomas Virgen, Jesus Escobar, and 5 others. And I'm just going to quote the one line that matters. I am happy to work with you, talking to Tomas, Mr. Ureña, and Mr. Camilo Garcia in identifying key locations within Calexico. That was on January 19th. Let's go back. Let's rewind. I sent the initial request for a new site, as I reported in my last COVID report, 1 month before that, which was on December 28th. What did Mr. Camilo Garcia say on the meeting of the 23rd? And I read these exact words to him at the last meeting, and I'm going to read to them again because it seems like he doesn't remember. He says, when we were talking about a testing site close to the border, he says, but we are talking about the specific population of Calexico, not the transient population. It didn't sound like you were in favor of a testing location by the border. By your own words, ¿cuándo cambiaste? ¿Cuando se pareció bien la idea? Aquí tengo los hechos. No le puedes mentir al pueblo. What you said is only half true. You got involved a month after. After I did all the work, you put the cherry on top with that social services contract. That's all you did. I did the rest of the work. I congratulate you, but don't lie to the people. I'm going to read the quote to you again. But we are talking about the specific population of Calexico, not the transient population. That is important. I agree with you. These are essential workers. But here it is. But the issue is not just putting the testing site at the port of entry. No querías. It is about putting it for the Calexico citizens. Bien racista. Bueno, continúo. No le mientas al pueblo. Y menos a mí que leo todo. Buenas tardes, Cabildo. Espero a la señora alcaldesa. Can we take a recess? I'm going to make a motion for a 5-minute recess. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. In the absence of the chair, would you like to call the vote?
So are you gonna take a recess for what?
To make sure Rosie comes back and listens to my comments.
She just stepped off for a minute. Keep going.
No, I'm going to wait for the mayor.
Okay, well, wait.
Okay, sounds good. But there's a motion on the floor, so I think we have to call the vote.
Okay, the motion is to
recess for 5 minutes, correct.
Okay. Call the vote. Yeah.
You are the mayor.
Yeah, there's a motion, so we're going to vote on it.
And a second.
Right, so who's going to second it?
Ms. Roma.
Ms. Romo seconds it? Okay, so let's vote on it. Oh, there she is.
Oh, there she is. I withdraw my motion. I withdraw my motion for a recess. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, I will begin. Buenas tardes, Cabildo. I want to start off by acknowledging a mistake I made in my previous council report. The mistake was that I said that Romo had gotten vaccines through pioneers for police officers. That is not true. I spoke too soon. That effort was made, we did make those phone calls, but it never came to confirmation. So I apologize for that mistake. However, it did motivate the police department to go ahead and make the call to Clínicas to see about their eligibility. It seems that many of them were blessedly successful in getting those vaccines because the city cannot afford to have another period where a big chunk of our employees get sick, especially our law enforcement units. We need to protect them. I'll speak slowly out of respect for the interpreter. And here it is, my compliment that still applies to you, Mr. Garcia. I have a lot of faith in Mr. Garcia. Mira las palabras que te escribí antes de la mentira. Have a lot of faith in Mr. Garcia, seeing his reaction to my comment at the last meeting. He expressed acceptance of accountability, and that gives me faith in you, sir. Eso todavía es cierto. But now I really have to see how you're going to vote on 8 and 9. You might lose all of the little respect I still have for you. La Cámara de Comercio, Chamber of Commerce. We need to diversify and modernize our Chamber of Commerce. The coronavirus pandemic has showed us that we can be much more space efficient as a world using digital tools. Those that fail to do so don't save a lot of money on real estate costs. The pandemic has made it so a lot of rent prices, they've kind of gone crazy, and we should take advantage of it, save some money, and provide more Chamber of Commerce services. I'm not convinced that in 2020 the Chamber of Commerce has an excuse for using that much space and creating so little business community engagement. Correct me if I'm wrong, community, please. I do accept accountability, siempre, siempre. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that no new members have signed up for 6 years. And for 6 years, the Chamber has not held elections for officers. If someone could please inform me to take away my doubt as to how many members have been added in the past year, how many members have been added in the past 5 years and in the last decade, and when the last election was. We can breathe new life into the Chamber of Commerce within a year. And it's high time we do it, since it is the premier institution that could help our businesses adapt to coronavirus. Through an effective chamber, we can start attacking that sales tax hole we have in our budget. Budgeting alone will not save a budget, we know this. It is policy changes synchronized with budget priorities that do so. This also is not a scolding, it's an offer of help. I have some plans that can make our Chamber of Commerce more representative, more inclusive of diverse types of business owners, and more efficient. To summarize, to be very clear, what I'm proposing is not at an added cost. These are tangible investments that can unlock a lot of savings from efficiency, specifically with rent space. I'm asking for 2 things, primarily out of this council, that have to do with poverty and COVID, businesses as well. First one, I'm asking that we establish some proactive business support through the Chamber of Commerce to help businesses take those first steps into being a business, helping them with their taxes, helping them with the regulatory code, with the planning process, and all of that entails. Not the same old, same old. We need innovation that supports businesses to rise to the unique challenges of today. Second, dealing with homelessness, I'm asking that we implement, like just about half of Calexico just told you, asking that we implement some preventative medicine on the homeless situation that has used up all our resources. Oh, excuse me, jumbled that sentence. I'm asking we implement some preventative medicine on the homeless situation because it is currently using up all our resources to tend to in its current state. If we don't act, there will continue to be feces and urine to be cleaned up on the street. If we don't act, our police resources will continue to go to helping people who are lost with dementia. If we don't act, businesses will not just come to Calexico because it's full of feces. If we don't act, people will continue to suffer. We have $80,000 worth of tents, we have some empty parking lots, we control the water, we can ask for assistance from IID to bring down some energy for an encampment. We have 10 trailas that Mr. Figueroa has just procured from, I believe, a county grant. We have nonprofits in the city with access to unlimited federal grants, some of them with access to some unlimited federal grants, like the SNAP feeding one, through SNAP. There is Medi-Cal, there are food stamps, all of these things to offset the cost of a homeless encampment or safe space, safe parking lot, as are established in just about every other city in California. And lastly, of course, we have the County of Imperial that is willing to contribute mental health resources to a project, drug addiction resources to the project. Brown Bag has showers that can bring decency to a person on the street. Any service we can give to the homeless to protect the community and look out for their well-being becomes easier when the people have at least a transitional home where you can expect them to be. When they finally have a mailing address that allows them to vote, because they don't lose their right to vote when they lose their house, they can apply for jobs and receive benefits in a standard mailbox. All this in transition. This is all transitional, while we work towards finding funds for real affordable housing. We haven't had a plan for housing, I believe, in Calexico, and it's about time we do it. Coronavirus has presented some unique challenges, but challenges lead to innovation, in my mind at least. I don't want us to be like previous councils that have consistently failed to come up with a comprehensive 5-year plan. I'm glad we're having a strategy session. I expect transitional housing to be in that 5-year plan. I want us to have plans. Short-term, super short-term, and long-term. Flexible plans we can implement with agility. Lastly, at the inauguration, Mr. Hodge said that the wheels of government were made to move slow. No. We are the wheels of government, and we move as fast as we allow ourselves to move. We prioritize and divide work. We collaborate to make things happen in unity. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Moving on.
Thank you.
Mrs. Romo?
Thank you. Madam Mayor and members of the council, take for tours of the city of Calexico. First, visit the camp or campamento on the First and Andrade streets, where the workers of the field are for several days. They have been there. The farm workers are making requests to the council. In my opinion, they are just. Remember, the promise says justice for all. And second, concern about the homeless who are living in chozas, houses made of trash, and contaminated land located on Cesar Chavez Boulevard and Grand Avenue. Currently, there are many homeless people. The health of these people is in great danger at this time of the pandemic, and we need to relocate all these homeless people as soon as possible. I made, Mayor, a video that I will send to everyone. Third, visit the Genaro Teco Monroy Memorial International Border Park, located on Pauline and First Street. This park representa la entrada a Calexico, de México a Calexico de los Estados Unidos. The conditions of this park are terrible. We need to find a way that this park will always find and beautiful and functional for the hundreds of people who pass through there in daily. I hope that the Park Commission will take up this matter as soon as possible. I made a video I will send to everyone. And I want to clarify that the video is not to put employees in a bad way. I believe that employees have done their work with great responsibility, but perhaps they do not have all the tools it's possible that they use. Please, I want to tell you that I am here to serve you. We all want to have a prosperous, clean and beautiful Calexico. No hay que tomarla tan a pecho los empleados de Calexico. Yo entiendo, yo sé que les dolió ver este video, pero yo creo en el trabajo que ustedes están haciendo. A quien le voy a llamar la atención es al señor Miguel Figueroa, porque tal vez no les esté dando todos los medios que necesitan para poder trabajar en el parque. Pero estoy aquí, si gustan pedirle al señor Figueroa presentar un plan, sería excelente que lo pudiéramos ver. Van a contar con todo mi apoyo. Okay. And four, visit el centro de nuestro Calexico at night, anyone immediately feels a bad smell in the street. The alleyway look horrible. There is almost no light in the streets. They also look neglected and dirty. We need to open the bathroom on the first street. The people who pass need a bedroom. If we don't, they will find a way to solve their biological, I don't know what is biological, needs. Please, we need to seek final resort immediately. And finally, I would like to ask Mr. Figueroa that Chief Diego Favela tell us about the Cesar Chavez land where the homeless are located, please, because it's very contaminated, this land. Is possible? Favela?
You want that, Councilwoman, right now or at a future meeting?
Right now, con esto termino, para que pueda entender la mayor, Protem y todos, qué pasa con esa tierra. Van a recibir un video, pero está contaminada y hay como 50 homeless en ese momento viviendo ahí, desde hace 4 años. Ok, Chief.
All right, good evening, Honorable City Council, Mayor, and the staff that's here with us. So I'm thinking the question is in regard to the property, Cesar Chavez, and you want to know about the homeless people there?
The contamination, the state of, like the environmental quality of that land, yeah.
Okay, so the property that we're talking about is at 711 Cesar Chavez Boulevard in our city. In June of 2016, there was a fire at this business, which used to be a recycling center, mostly cardboard, pallets, and some tires. Since this property, since the burning, it has been left in shambles. It is not a very good sight for the eyes. Unfortunately, people have been staying there. They have been in litigation with the property owners, so there's not much that I can really say in regards to that. I know that the property owners are currently being served or being addressed with notices to clean up, but that's kind of out of our hand because now there's in the legal department in their property is trying to find out who's responsible for it since there's several owners. I think with time I can come more prepared with a more precise report on this. Those are just what I know from, it's been since 2016, so it's been an issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam.
Councilman Garcia?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, let me start by, going back. Mr. Reina, you might want to take notes. When I was out there talking to people, reaching out to people, I never made any promises. I invited people to be part of, proposals of ideas as to how to improve our city. And also, I was very clear to say that one of the things that they could expect out of me is professionalism. And I'm going to stick to that. I'm not going to drag our community through this bickering, okay? We're better than that. Someone has to be the bigger person. And let's just leave it at that, and for the public to find out who that is. Now, as far as helping our community, I'm not telling half truths. I'm just trying to help, whether the words are twisted, are used, are quoted, or in whichever way possible that they can be manipulated. I'm not going to fall for that. I sign on to help, my city I didn't sign on for this bickering. It was mentioned that previous councils, were going back and forth in this bickering. I'm not going to go down the path. Whether certain things were accomplished by a specific individual, that's fine. But again, this is not about me. This is about all the community, okay? I never said that, certain people are not important. I just said that we needed to prioritize services, and I still stand by that. So again, I'm not going to go back into this bickering. These comments can be taken as whatever it wants to be taken. But anyway, so I did attend the League of Cities. I think it was a very a good opportunity to really learn from other cities, other council members, as to how they behave. And there was plenty to be learned, plenty of best practices. I just hope that people that attended, and hopefully all these council members attended, and let's put that into practice. The decency, the courtesy, the respect, and just following, protocols and being professional. Also, I understand we're going through a difficult time. Pandemic, everybody's in need, everybody's needs help, right? But I don't think, a divisive approach, a back and forth, a quoting of emails, I'm not going to follow that path. I have proof. I know what I do. People that know me know what I do. I don't need to be out there yelling what I'm doing, whether it's through social media, whether it's through this media, this opportunity that we have to go out to the community. Look, it's 9 o'clock, and we haven't even gotten to the agenda. It's sad. People have to go to work, and here we are barely trying to get into the agenda. And because of that, I'm done with my report. Let's get to the agenda, please.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. I guess I will add, Mr. Garcia, you are right. We have to stick to the agenda, and we do need to respect each other. As we have seen, there's, not mention any names, but, I feel harassed. And, let it be. We have to move forward. We have to stick to the agenda. Now, on my report, we, myself with Pro-Tem Mayor, we have been working together. We attended the ICTC orientation, which was on the 27th. We also had a meeting with them. They gave us a lot of informative information. We also, on a Friday, 2 Fridays in a row, we attended the COVAC with the health department, updates on everything that's going on in the valley, how they're communicating to people, the measures they're taking. It's very informative, which they're reaching out to our community. And the ones that they're invited to that are the mayors and the city managers. We also attended the League of Cities, which was also very informative. We were invited to Channel 66, and we gave a little presentation on how we are approaching the COVID situation. And today we had a meeting via Zoom with ACLU. Also, it was an orientation with Krista Quesada. As you could see, we are working together, trying to move on. COVID has hit us very, very hard, but we're moving on. And I will add, Mrs. Romo, I'm gonna tell you something from history. We have been working on the parks. Mr. Miguel, 2 days prior to you going on Facebook, social media, he gave us a report on the bathrooms, the cost. And we've been focusing on different taking care of different parks. You know, Rising Park still needs the bathrooms, Cordova the lights. We have this big project that we're going to be starting with Hebert Park. And in the park, what it is it called downtown? There's been a lot of issues there. I don't know if you're aware or not.
It's
But
international.
yes, we've had a lot of issues with burning, and if the trees are not like you said, they're not grown, is because they were burned at one time. And but we're trying, you know, where Mr. Miguel Figueroa has worked with Public Works to address all those problems, and we have been moving on. I'm sorry that you were not aware of it, or I don't know how this all happened, but I have been working on it. Okay, I think that's something that I just wanted to share with you. Other than that, I don't have anything else. I just want to thank everybody for being here, and I know it's already going to be 9 o'clock, and I need to know whether we want to continue or we should reschedule the meeting.
It's 9:30.
But yeah, we have to ask 15 minutes prior, isn't it?
It's just that by 9:30 is a cutoff.
27 minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, you can look at the motion whenever.
So I'll make a
We're gonna
motion.
try to finish it off.
Till 9:30, and I'll finish it off.
Okay, by 9:30, we're going to cut it off.
Yeah.
Okay, whether we're done with the agenda or not. Okay. Moving forward.
Yeah, we need,
We'll need a motion.
yeah, I made a motion, so somebody to second that.
What was the motion?
The motion is to continue with the meeting until 9:30.
I will second that motion.
Okay, second?
Mr. Moreno?
Right there. And second by Mr. Reina.
Rosie Aurora Fernandez, Mayor.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Javier Moreno.
Aye.
Councilmember Raul Lorena.
Before I give my vote, just a quick comment. I'm not sure if it's out of order, but if time is becoming an issue, I would suggest starting the regular session at 5 p.m. instead of 6:30. That way we can have an hour 30 of extra working time. Aye.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ureña, but I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, sorry about that. I said I recommend that we should start the meeting time, the regular session. Instead of starting it at 6:30, we can start at 5 p.m. or 5:30, so working people can come, and we have a whole extra hour of work to do. So time is not a concern, and I vote aye.
Oh, okay, but that requires another motion.
No,
right?
I'm not making a motion.
You want to amend to the motion?
No. That was just a comment before my
We
vote.
were asked if we cut off the meeting at 9:30.
Yes, and I'm voting yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Gloria Romo.
Aye.
Councilmember Camilo Garcia.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to discussion and potential action items. Budget calendar for fiscal year 2021 to 2022.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, people at home watching the meeting. This is a practice that Ms. Lovatos, our finance director, and I began to instill as of last year, in which we want to provide, for the sake of transparency and efficiency, to the council and the community, a calendar for the upcoming year's fiscal budget. I want to reiterate that when the State Controller's Office did a visit in 2018 to address the lingering issues dating back to the previous fiscal years that almost brought the city to the brink of bankruptcy, one of the things that we showcased to them was that we were going to install protocols and procedures to make sure that we aligned with the State Controller's needs and wants, along with the Department of Finance. That's why it's critical that we bring this item to your attention so we can all see what process we're going to follow, who we're going to meet with, and when to move this item forward. I still want to bring to the attention of this council that the city of Calexico, along with others in the state, continue to be considered a high-risk city for the State Controller's Office. And that's very important to know, meaning that at any point they can come back to make sure that the items that Carla and I presented to them back in 2018 are continuing to happen and be put in place. So I want to make that clear because just because we have 3 years of good functioning operations in our finance department, it doesn't mean that we're still not being looked at. So with that said, for the sake of transparency for our community and this council, it's important that I share this with you. If you have any questions or comments, I'll be happy to address them.
Any questions?
Motion to approve budget calendar for fiscal year 2021-2022.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mayor Rosie Arola Fernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Javier Moreno,
Aye.
Councilmember Raúl Ureña,
Aye.
Councilmember Gloria Romo,
Aye.
Councilmember Camilo Garcia.
Aye.
Moving on to item 5, adopt a budget amendment resolution for allocation of resources of the Capital Improvement Project, CIP, for the New River Improvement Project, Calexico Reach.
For the sake of transparency, and given that we're going to be recipients of an award through the Department of Water Resource for the New River Improvement Project, Calexico Reach improvements that I alluded to in my city manager's report, it is important that we have a fund within our budget to identify such project and any expenditures related to that project. That is why we are requesting a budget amendment resolution that reflects that, so we can show our partners at the Department of Water Resource that we have accountability in terms of how we're going to manage the monies. If you have any comments or questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
It's only for a new account. That's it?
It's a new account, Councilwoman Romo, that will allow for us to make sure that we differentiate the expenditures for that project.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a motion to approve, adopt the budget amendment resolution. Number
Do I-
5.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mayor Rosie Arola Fernandez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Javier Moreno,
Aye.
Councilmember Raúl Ureña,
Aye.
Councilmember Gloria Romo,
Aye.
Councilmember Camilo Garcia.
Aye.
Moving on to item 6, award proposal for the development fee impact study to Weldon Financial Services.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, on November 27th, in lieu of the need to make sure that we update our fee schedule and our development impact fees in the city of Calexico that have not been looked at or revised for over a decade, one of the priorities for my administration was to make sure that we address these issues without impacting the general fund. As a result of that, thanks to the work of the planning unit for the city of Calexico, we were able to secure grant funds from the state of California through the LEAP grant that will help us pay for this particular assessment that we need to go through. As a result of that, on November 27th, we issued an RFP. We received 4 responses. I want to be clear that the 4 proposals that we received, only one was a fixed cost, meaning that we know for a fact how much it's going to cost us to complete a comprehensive study. That's something that I pointed out in the staff report. It's a comprehensive study. That differentiated Wildan from the other 3 proposers, meaning that we're going to be looking at our development impact fee and are also going to assess our citywide fee schedule. As we know, it's long overdue. We have an outcry from our community, from our businesses, that they are requesting that we look as a city into this matter. As a result, therefore, the recommendation from staff and myself is that we move forward with the award to Wildan Financial Services. At this point, if there are any particular questions on this subject, I'll be happy to answer them.
I do have a question in regards to the general plan update. What type of work are they providing on that item, on the line item for the general plan update?
Normally, Mr. Garcia, this aligns also with one of the biggest needs that the state of California is pointing out, which is also a reflection in the city of Calexico, that our housing needs per the population are addressed, that we have sufficient amount of housing supply for the demand that we have. By updating our general plan, we will be able to address the RENA, which is the regional housing assessment needs that we need to comply with as a city. Also, at the same time, it's going to expose any other needs that we have as a city, and not forget that it's recommended that every 5 years general plans be updated. So all those elements align and coincide with this opportunity that we have right now.
And that's exactly what my point is here, where we have a chance to maximize on this contract, and if we can get also, and I know they're gonna work on all these items right here, but I know that the general plan it's really overdue. It's really something that, we can use as a North Star for our city, and that's supposed to be the North Star for our city, as well as, what you alluded earlier to, the strategic planning session. So I think just pulling some of that also, and making sure that, again, we align with the needs, because as we have identified, there's a lot of need, from housing, but again, we just have to make sure that it's here. A lot of times when you go after money, as you know, you have to have it in your general plan. You have to identify it. So let's make sure that we do that, and we maximize this opportunity. I think this is great. This is long way overdue. What's the timeline of this, RFP to be completed? I mean, this work to be completed by Weldon.
What we're going to be doing now, depending on how the direction that this council gives once the vote comes up, is I'll sit down with Wildan. By then, they will have already a roadmap that they're going to share with me. I'm going to sit down with them and look at it. If I consider that it's something that's acceptable, I'll make the recommendation that we move forward with it. If I feel that we need a tweak to prioritize certain items of that roadmap, that's what I'll do. My expectation is that we can come back to this council, because as part of the monies that are going to be paid, there are 4 meetings in which, up to 4 meetings for which they're going to be coming here and providing you status update presentations. So until we get to the point where we can define this, I'm going to create a master schedule that I'll be sharing with you folks.
Please do so. I'm very interested in finding out, how the schedule and how the priorities for what's going to be on our general plan. I would like to see that, and I think the rest of the council will be interested, more than interested, participate in the input and the decision making, which that's part of our function. So appreciate that.
Madam Mayor, may I have the floor?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Just a very quick comment. I'm very happy to hear that we've selected someone who will do a comprehensive job. That, I'm sure, entails many different kinds of taxes that they can look at and fees, not just development fees. If that is the case, I'm going to go ahead and request that if this item passes, we could get this firm to make a proposal for a vacant lot property tax, kind of like Oakland's, a tax that could really help us fund the cleaning up of Calexico.
That is certainly something, Councilmember Ureña, that I will propose and put on the table.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. Okay, now do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mayor Rosie Arreola Fernandez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Javier Moreno.
Aye.
Councilmember Raúl Ureña.
Aye.
Councilmember Gloria Romo.
Aye.
Councilmember Camilo Garcia.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to item 7, adoption of a resolution approving an application for funding and the exclusiveship of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 2020 Community Development Block Grant Program Coronavirus Response Round 1 CDBG-CV1 NOFA dated June 5, 2020.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, even Councilwoman Romo and Councilman Ureña, even though at the time you were not part of the council, I'm sure you are aware that the state of California back in the summer, as a result of COVID-19, put and made available what we consider in local government over-the-counter grants for every city in California, of which there were different ways for that money to be used. On August 26th, the item was brought forth to the City Council, in which there was a public hearing that was conducted, and a resolution was approved for the funding and execution of the agreement, with the intent to use this for utility relief for our community, meaning gas, water, and power. In essence, we're coming back with you again because there was a technicality on the legality of how the resolution read. This was something that I want to point out was not a responsibility of our planning unit. It was a recommendation that was made per the review of HCD. Therefore, that is why we're bringing this item again to your attention. And after careful legal review on this minor edit, it is that we bring this, and at the end of the day, what we're looking at is to benefit our community. It can bring them 3 months worth of relief on these 3 utilities for which the city will pay directly the entity their bill. With that said, I think it's been talked about, like I said, multiple times in this forum. If there's any additional questions or comments, I'll be happy to answer them.
Very good news.
Any questions?
No? Make a motion to approve number 7.
I do have a comment.
Excuse me.
Councilman Garcia has a question.
Okay, so I go back to, I remember when we brought this item to the council, we were talking about, outreach. We were talking about, strategies to put this out into the community. And also, talking about outreach and making sure that also we expedite, the eligibility process, that is not cumbersome, that, we take into consideration our current conditions, where our office is closed, and also to protect our staff and the public also. But we understand that, these funds have to go out, and they have to go out as soon as possible, as soon as we get our hands on. But again, let's just make sure that we put a process in place that is expedited, that is also meeting the requirements, from this, grant. So just hopefully, if you have that already planned, and if not, I will ask that, let's work on that, and let's keeping in mind to protect our staff and our public. So I don't know if you have something on that, something
Absolutely,
planned.
Councilman Garcia. What I will share with you is that we had success in implementing the business loan program for Calexico businesses. I'm gonna mirror the process that we followed for that loan program, in which I had specific staff assigned to assist. It was very smooth. We had no hiccups. So I anticipate using the same process for this program.
And as far as marketing, what was the plan? Social media, Imagine, website?
What we do is, I did 3 things with the business loan program. I used our Facebook page, I used our city website, and I have an email list that I use of local leaders in our community that help me spread the word. I plan to do the same. So the turnout was very good the first time around. I expect the same for this time.
And just getting into technicalities, I just want to make sure that people can maximize this monies, and they're able to, also benefit from this. We also had, the county had some money for, this assistance, with utilities, not too long ago, towards the end of the year. So those monies with this money that, we're using from this grant, that does not affect, if they were able to take advantage of the county money, those individuals won't be prevented from applying to these grants, right?
The more the
Would
merrier.
that be something?
Councilman Garcia, the more the merrier. The more we can put out there for either residents, homeowners, or businesses, the more opportunities they have to make up, unfortunately, for the constraints they face through COVID-19. So, yeah, there's no overlap here.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear, that make sure that we
Sure.
do our due diligence in overlapping, not overlapping, that, in doing these great things, also we don't shoot ourselves in the foot by doing something that might not be allowable, and later on we might not be able to get this type of monies in the future. So just food for thought and something to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
But thank you.
Okay. So moving on. Do we have-
Excuse me, how much is the amount for the money of that grant?
It's $170,000, Councilwoman Romo.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution. Or is it just by adoption?
No, yeah,
You need a motion?
We appreciate
Okay,
it, yes.
excellent, thank you. I will make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Mayor Rosie Arroyo Fernandez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Javier Moreno.
Aye.
Councilmember Raúl Ureña.
Aye.
Councilmember Gloria Romo.
Aye.
Councilmember Camilo Garcia.
Aye.
Madam Mayor, if you'll, I would respectfully ask if you can give me a minute to just express something before our meeting time is up. So we're at 9:23 right now, and I understand that a motion was made to conclude the meeting at 9:30. It's my responsibility as the city manager to convey to this governing body that there are other time-sensitive items on our agenda. So I would humbly request if this body could consider my request to at least address those time-sensitive items. And let me provide detail as to why it's time-sensitive. I know that we will determine if we finish our meeting at 9:30 when we reconvene. And obviously that has to align with the calendars of all of us. But if this next portion of the agenda were to get pushed, for example, to our next regular meeting, I would lose 2 weeks of potentially being able to address some business matters that I have to entail with a couple of entities that want to assist Calexico in much needed items.
Okay.
Which
So
are
the items that you're
10 and
talking about,
11.
I would imagine.
Councilman Ureña, it's,
Oh.
I'm sorry, yeah, because you asked which items?
ones?
Yeah.
It's items 10 and 11.
Yeah, that's what I thought so. Okay, I think we could, do we just move? We would
Yeah,
like
keep
to
going.
move items 10 and 11 to,
Yes.
excuse me? Okay. the
Yes.
consent?
You don't need a vote, as long as the 5 of you are okay with it,
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
it's enough.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to be moving on to item 10.
10 and 11, no?
Yes,
Yes.
but I'm starting off with 10 right now. No,
No.
because it was a consensus of the sale of city surplus land authorization to enter into negotiations with the Cesar Chavez Foundation.
And I want to introduce item number 10, and I want to reiterate that much of what I'm going to be explaining and presenting applies for item 11. I want to point that for the record. On November 6th, per the California Surplus Land Act, on November 16th, I issued a notice of land availability. As a result of issuing that notice of land availability, that opened a 60-day window for me to receive responses to that notice. I am, by law, mandated to include in the list of people that I send this notice to agencies identified by the Housing and Community Development Department. Based on that, we comply with the California Surplus Land Act. Now that we've hit the 60-day window, which was January 16th, that is why I bring this item to your attention. Now, the request is to enter into an exclusive negotiation agreement period that will lapse for 3 months on item number 10 with Cesar Chavez Foundation. They expressed interest in 3 of the 4 parcels that were issued as a notice. With that said, by you folks giving me the authority to enter into a negotiation, I will go and sit down with them and legal over the terms that we wish to follow. I want to point out something very important. This does not entail the sale of the property. It does not.
Okay.
I will be coming back to you folks and provide you updates in closed session as to those negotiations go. Once those 90 days are up, our expectation is that we can find common ground before the expiration, and at that point, I would come again with an agenda item to this body so you folks can make a determination if you want to move forward with what we negotiated. At this point right now, the parcels at hand are on Cesar Chavez Boulevard. So I'll leave it at that because I can get much more into it, but I want to stop just to make sure that I'm clear, and if there's any comments or questions, I can address them.
I will reserve my questions for 11 just to make sure that they pass on time.
Right. Ms. Romo, do you wish to ask something?
Yeah, only clarify for me and for the community is, again, this negotiation for the number 10 and number 11 does not mean that we are selling this land.
Not at all.
No, okay.
For the record,
It's
it's only to end, this is following the guidelines of the California Surplus Land Act.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, now do we vote on it separately or can we just do it together?
I would recommend that we do it separately.
Okay, so do I have a motion for item 10, the sale of the surplus land?
Motion to approve?
I'll second that.
Martha?
Mayor Rosie Arreola Fernandez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Javier Moreno.
Aye.
Councilmember Raúl Ureña.
Aye.
Councilmember Gloria Romo.
Aye.
Councilmember Camilo Garcia.
Aye.
Now moving
Matt-
to
My
item,
apologies, please
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
item 11, sale of the city surplus land. Okay, you're gonna negotiate with the Vuelta of California duty free?
Reiterating, Madam Mayor, council members, my presentation for 10. This item applies for one parcel, in this case, for the entity you mentioned, which is Vuelta of California. There is one thing that I do want to be clear on also. When we enter negotiations, the city's best interest is put on the table. And by that I mean that we can explore all real estate options. Okay, all real estate options, which I will follow through on per the guidance that I received from this governing body in future settings, which could include closed sessions.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. I only got one question
Yes.
for both the number 10 and the number 11 parcels. Are there any homeless people currently living on these parcels?
The parcels at hand right now, what I can share with you is from a bird's eye view. I'll say no. However, if you are to enter the actual property, there is a chance that that may be the case. And that is something that we can do, that we can actually confirm through our public safety departments.
Excellent. Yeah, because I wouldn't like for that to get into the way of your negotiation. I'll leave it at that because it is already 9:30. Unless there's any other comments, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Martha?
Mayor Rosie Arreola Fernandez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Javier Moreno.
Aye.
Councilmember Raúl Ureña.
Aye.
Councilmember Gloria Romo.
Aye.
Councilmember Camilo Garcia.
Aye.
Okay, now moving on, so on the appointments, I don't know, do we have time, like, do you all have your appointments already? Could we just I think that would be kind
So,
of brief, or no?
Madam Mayor, if you folks wish to continue the meeting for the other items, we definitely can, but that would require a new motion if you folks wish to do that.
A point of information just for the lawyer. When a vote is taken on that kind, is it final? Is there a way that?
For this one, you would have to bring a motion for reconsideration, and it would reconsider the motion.
So there would have to be a motion for reconsideration and then go through that process,
If you
if
guys
you want to.
wish to.
Okay.
If you guys wish to.
When you change your mind, yeah.
It will be then item 9 and item 8, and then the appointments.
Madam Mayor, point of information, if I may. Oh, go ahead, Camilo. I'll go ahead and wait.
You know, I was just hoping that maybe instead of rushing through these items, and also I think it's a little bit late, you know, I think people are probably tired also. So just to give them a chance to at least view the proceedings and maybe participate, I would like to respectfully maybe move these items to a different time, a different meeting.
Okay.
I agree with that.
And Madam Mayor, just for the record, just so we can all be on the same page, and our community members as well, based on how we're wrapping our meeting up right now, the pending items would move forward to the next regular scheduled meeting.
Is that law, or can we make it?
Unless you folks determine otherwise.
I mean, obviously, yeah, I mean, just the process is, the standard process, you know, if you didn't finish them, they go to the next meeting. Obviously, if you have another meeting, you can always, that's just procedurally.
Quick question for the council. Do you guys want to set a separate meeting for?
The question is for all.
No, we could add on to the next meeting.
Add on? Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, we could add on to the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
The meeting of the
standard process,
17th.
They move on to the next meeting. Obviously, if you have something in between, then we can readjust that, but just
Okay.
like.
Excellent.
The protocol, they would move to the next regular meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's the standard. That's the way we move.
Okay. Thank you.
A motion to move these items to the next regular meeting, and I guess adjourn this meeting.
Do we have a second?
Oh,
The motion's not necessary, we just adjourn.
okay, so if we'll agree, then
Okay.
Madam
The
Mayor?
meeting
Is a motion to adjournment.
Okay, so the motion is, we'll be moving the items for our next regular meeting. We don't have to, okay? Okay, then.
Yes.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned then. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Good night.